What's going on is Anton from AntonDaniels.com. I appreciate you guys for continuing to rock with me, but I just got home off of an early morning flight, right? First thing through the door, I want to see my family. I love my family. You know, I'm a family man. I'm an advocate for families, right? Second thing, I got to get that hot shower because I got to throw the threads on. The threads make me feel like $1,000,000, but the third thing through my mind and all throughout the trip is that I got to have that Teej pack. Teej makes my life uncomplicated. It's uncomplicated skincare for men. The first way that I started specifically was their level 1 system. It's a daily face wash to get rid of the dirt and grime on your skin. 2 times per week exfoliating scrub to get rid of the dead skin cells. An AM moisturizer with SPF 20 because you should always be protecting your skin from the sun. And a PM moisturizer to help your skin stay hydrated and healthy throughout the night. Here's the thing. My favorite part about Teej Henley is that every box comes with an instruction card that tells you when to use each product, how much to use, and in what order. They really making the process of achieving and maintaining amazing skin for men uncomplicated. In addition to amazing skin, members of Teej Henley get tons of benefits, including at least 20% off the retail price, the ability to customize your box, exclusive monthly deals, you can pause and cancel at any time, and you get free shipping. And because Teej Henley is sponsoring today's video, they're offering my viewers an amazing deal, right? Just click the first link in the description and you get 30% off your first box, plus a free gift. It's an amazing deal. You got to get started today. You're not out here trying to look like a Dusty. And if you travel as much as I do, which I'm sure most people don't, but you know me, I'm pushing my bag chasers in order to be in the top 5%, top 10%, top 1%. We got to make our lives uncomplicated, and Teej Henley is no better product. You got to look good. You got to smell good. And you can't be looking like a Dusty. Make sure you get started today. Click the link in the description. Get that Teej pack. Feel the Teej, my friends. What's going on is Anton from Anton. Look at the great already starting to come through. Oh my God. What's going on is Anton from AntonDaniels.com. I appreciate you guys for continuing to rock with me. Thank you for tuning in for another edition of the Millionaire Morning Show. I'm your host, Anton Daniels, and I think we're going to have a great show before us today. Let me give you a round of applause for being here every single day holding me down, because I don't take you for granted, and I always want to make sure that I acknowledge the people that hold down the show. Let me give an early round of applause to my guy, Mike, that dude on Cash App. Thank you, Mike. Thank you for always being consistent. It does not go unnoticed, and I always, every single morning, want to make sure that I acknowledge you and I acknowledge everybody in the chat. Also want to give a highlight to my girl, Queen V. Says, I just watched the video from last night. You and Freezy had me literally howling, crying tears with old boy, but I sobered up when that stalker came up. She wanted to be Rita's skin just to F you. Listen, I don't know what's going on out in these streets, Queen V. I have no clue. I have no idea. All I do is present the information, do the live streams. Because I'm a man of the people, I always allow for people to be able to come up and say what it is that they want to say. But again, you guys got to remember, life is 10% of what happens to you and 90% of how you react to it. So we strategic. If y'all go back and y'all watch that stream from last night and you've seen how I reacted to it, it was a masterclass. I have to give myself a round of applause because it's a masterclass. I'm telling you, look, you meet different people with different energy in different ways. And depending on how they come at you is how you tend to respond. You got to take everything in consideration. Proximity, meaning what city you in, how close they are to you, what they say, how they say it. Sometimes you don't even have to say anything and you can just let them dig themselves into a hole. And why do I have to stop them? Why would I have to stop you from digging yourself into a hole? Doesn't matter what you say. Doesn't matter what the insults are. I'm telling you, man, look, most guys and most men, they have bigger problems in their life, not necessarily because of what's around them. So when I get on a coaching call with a lot of guys, sometimes they'll say, yeah, Anton, I did this and I did that. And then they find themselves getting written up at work or, running into a chick or dealing with a chick that the situation became exponentially worse because they did not make the right adjustment and they reacted emotionally. Emotion is a female trait. It's a difference between being passionate when you argue on a point in a debate, or if you are on a panel when you're going back and forth with people or whatever. But when you respond emotionally in real life, you know, that could be the end of you. That could be everything that you ever worked for. That could be something, that you can't come back from. And so I try to live it, and I try to display how we're supposed to operate as people, especially as a man with a family, with a daughter, with a wife. And I want to make sure that I display that to you guys because I don't have to respond to everything. The only thing I have to do is control the narrative. And 99% of the time, I can control you. I can control how you're going to respond to me. I know what you're going to do before you do it. All I got to do is set the trap and watch you walk into it. I ain't got to push you. I ain't got to coach you into it. I ain't got to sit here and go back and forth. I'm just going to let you live with regret after you do it. And then we going to play it out like that. It even comes like that when it comes to the confrontations that you have in real life. A lot of people will look at me and they say, hey, man, why you ain't hit that guy in his face when he went out here and he was talking junk and he was in your face? For what? Why would I have to do that? Right? We got to think. We got to think our way through these things. The minute that you take a step back, right, it's literally like taking a limitless pill. The minute that you take a step back and you say, okay, so what is happening right now? Seriously, because most people, they just respond emotionally and they just jump off the bridge, right? They react to it. I can't believe they did this, or I can't believe they said this about my mama. You ain't never seen my mama before in your life. You don't know her. My mama is on vacation right now in sunny weather, having a good time right after she hit me up for a couple more thousand. That's the truth. I could show you the text messages. Hey, Anton, I need you to send me a couple more grand. I need you to send me 1,000. Send me this, whatever, so on and so forth. My mom do this all the time. This is my mama right here. This is my mom. Oh, let me flip this around for you. That's your mama. What do I care? This is my mom right here. Literally, last Saturday. Anton, can you send me some money, please? How much you need? $1,000. Just sent it to you. Then she blow me kisses. I'm not tripping. My mama is my mama is living the best life ever. She hit me up, yo, Anton, I'm about to go on vacation. I need another rack. Can you send it to me? All right, cool. I just sent it to you. What you want me to do? Crash out, go back and forth, raise my voice, raise my blood pressure, go back? Like, I'm not doing that. I'm chilling, right? And so insults only hurt people that feel like they hit. I'm just catching it, and then I'm going to set it down, and I'm going to let you pick it up, and I'm going to let you live with regret. I'm going to live rent-free in your mind. You're going to promote me. You're going to make me greater. You're going to make me better. And so a lot of people sit here, and they go back and forth, and the minute that you then, and remember this, ladies, fellas, every situation, no matter what you in, no matter what the situation is, just think about it like this. The minute that something starts to happen and you start to feel something within you, breathe. Take 5 minutes, look at the situation. You do not have to respond right away just because somebody asked you a question. You don't have to go back and forth with somebody right away just because they asked you a question. All you have to do is breathe. Ask yourself, okay, what's happening right now? How am I going to play this? What's the best possible outcome from this situation? Once you identify the end goal, all you got to do is set the trap and let them walk right into it. And all the time, whether you in corporate America, and this is not just for enemies, or this is not just for people that talk junk or go back and forth or try to set you up. This is also on the flip side from a positive perspective, right? Every time somebody does something, or anytime I see something happening in corporate America, or I see an opportunity, the first thing I do is I stop and I literally take 5 minutes. I look at my watch and I take 5 minutes and I say, what's the best possible outcome for me? When it comes to women, when it comes to my wife, when it comes to my daughter, right? What's the best possible outcome from this situation? And I pay attention, and I run every scenario through my mind, and then I execute. And you have to be the person to control yourself. That way you can control. When you control yourself, you control everybody else around you. And people love stability. They love leadership that gives them stability. Women love stability. When a woman comes in and she's all frantic or whatever, we got to go through this procedure today, right? And, at first, Rita was like, oh my God, I don't know. I'm always. And I just sat her down and I set her down and I grab her hands and I say, listen, have I ever let anything happen to you in your entire life? No. And she started to calm down. Girl, you sitting here worried about this? I'm sitting here trying to figure out if we about to have a good time and we about to watch this Netflix and order this DoorDash and have a good time. Immediately calms her down, controlling the narrative. And then now we going about doing things a little bit differently. Mine is in a different space. So now in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, okay, so how can I plan this out to not only make sure and reassure her that everything is going to be beautiful? Got the best doctors, best healthcare coverage, all of the bills is paid, everything is taken care of, all of our bills is aligned. Leslie is taken care of, everything is planned for, I got it all set up. And then after that, now I'm plotting throughout the day to continue to keep her controlled. Meaning that, hey, you got this over there? Hey, did you take care of this? You need to be busy. You need to be focused. We're not going to live this twice. We're going to take care of this one time. It's going to be what it is that we said it's going to be. I'm going to help you to remember what it is that we believe in from a faith perspective, because we don't pray and worry. We don't sit here and question what God is doing. We just make sure that we execute and we're obedient, not necessarily trying to handle it ourselves. Because if I'm going to play God, then what I need him for? And you always, 100% of the time, you control the narrative. You don't let anybody sit here and get you off your square, even when it comes to these interviews, or somebody can come on the platform and they can say, yeah, Anton, he was getting at you. He was doing this. He could do that. Or, man, I don't believe you ain't check him. I'm not trying to check him. My goal is to make sure that I cut the check. We running the numbers up. We gonna make sure that we get the biggest bag possible. And if it comes at the expense of them feeling like they need to say something or whatever or get it off, I don't feel a need to have to check them. I want them to get their energy off. I don't have that much ego and pride when it comes to doing the thing that's in the best interest of every party involved. And so I can put my ego down. I don't have to respond to everything. I'm very careful about my words and how I do it. But when I do it, I'm very precise on how I'm going to execute. So I just want y'all to take this as a lesson. You don't have to punch everybody that step on your foot. Everybody that call your mama out her name, you ain't got to do that. You ain't got to sit here and go back and forth with every single person. And when you do, make sure that it's going to be a fruitful situation for you on the back end. I don't respond to everybody that make a video. I'm very careful about the targets that I want to hit. I don't have to fire every missile. And then the target that I'm going to hit, you should know that the missile is coming at you so you can prepare for it. If I'm going to do something to you, and I'm not going to do anything to anybody, so let me preface this conversation by saying that. If I'm ever going to do something to you, let's say me and you beefing, and I need to get at you, right? Which I never will, because I'm a corporate guy, I'm a father, I'm a whatever. But I'm just using this as a hypothetical situation, okay? If I'm going to get at you, I'm not going to respond to you on the internet. I'm not going to sit here and let the people know. I'm not going to beef with you publicly. You're not going to ever know that I got at you. Even when you hurting, even when you down, even when you lose your job, even when you in the worst situation ever, when you lose your chick, when your friends turn against you, when your car is turned over on a freeway or some crap, it's not going to be, you never going to think of me. Why would you ever think of me? But I'm paying attention. I'm watching. I'm observing. I'm not going to sit here and say nothing publicly. Who beef and talk crap? That's like somebody that's acting like they want to fight and saying, hold me back, hold me back. If it's real, then we not going to talk about it on the internet. I'm not going to talk to you about it. So all of this rah-rah, let everything that you do be very strategic. Stop responding. Stop being controlled. Stop letting your emotions get the best of you, and make an informed decision. Be very strategic about what you want to accomplish and execute. It's stupid. All right, let me go ahead and read some of these super chats, and then we're going to continue to rock out. And again, I'm not saying that I would ever do nothing like that. That's not me. I don't get into that. I'm just giving you the narrative in order for you to translate it into how you can be successful in everything that you do, okay? A.R. Smitty says, them Wednesday nights are, man, aren't they? Must see TV. Kahari West is in the building, says, Shorty was wilding last night and really embarrassed herself. You did an amazing job holding frame. Salute. We can do this, yo. We can do it. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm just going to be about it. Shout out to my guy. Your car said, this is for flowers for Rita from the Chasers. Get well. Y'all are so nice. Y'all are too nice. Y'all too nice. I appreciate you, car. You was one of my favorite people in the world, bro. You've been holding me down for a while. I remember when I first started talking back and forth to your car in the chat. And me and your car, actually, I think we had a disagreement. I don't remember what it was, but it was over something business related. But your car is my guy. I love him. He is a mod. I seen he wasn't a mod on one of my channels. I said, what am I doing? Immediately, I started getting his mod badge. Shout out to your car. I love you, bro. Also, Brittany is in the building, says, Anton, I didn't know you was 50. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like Brittany, why do I have to sit here and that's why you a 50-plus-year-old man? I'm like, I didn't even respond. Everybody in the chat knew how old I was. It just make you look like a fool because you out here talking junk. And so the more that you talk, the more I'm going to let you talk. I don't have to sit here and correct you. No, I ain't even fit. Okay. I was just sitting there looking at the screen. Interesting. Mr. Lot says, how to deal with a chick from Mac and B-Wick 101. Shout out to my dog, Mr. Lot. Christian Bailey is in the building and says, I got that 10 ball for you, big dog. Thank you, my friend, for holding me down. Jeremy H says, good day. You, me, and everybody who watch After Hours need to repent for laughing as that woman embarrassed herself last night. Y'all know better. Set the trap. Let them walk right on into it. And then women always want to talk about how much smarter than men they are. Yeah, okay. Jason Statham says, be safe out there, bro. That B is wildly obsessed. We ain't worried about it. She got to get through security. Well, she is like Baby D, though. Jawan Hart says, Anton, please say a prayer to the Detroit Lions, to Donkey Pound, the Bucks for what they did to my Eagles. No, Eagles, y'all just going to have to hold that L. We already won this year. Checkmate on last night. Blessings to Rita Broski, says Latrell. Thank you. I appreciate y'all. Y'all ready to get started with the show so we can get this knocked out and then we can head over, or I can head over and take care of business. Again, make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Support Teach Henley, 30% off your first order plus a free gift. That link is in the description. And then also, After Hours tonight. I am 98% sure we're going to do After Hours tonight. But I just want to make sure that everything goes well over on this side. And then while she's resting, we're going to cook up tonight and we're going to have a good time. I got some really good subjects lined up for y'all. Shout out to my dog Kojak in the building, says, it's called Moving in Silence and with Intention. Continue prayers for you and Rita and Les. Shout out to my dog Kojak. Been with me for a long time, 20 plus years. My dog. What up to everybody in the chat? Y'all ready to get started with the show? All right, let's get started with the show. How do we get started with the show every single day, ladies and gentlemen? You know what it is. It's Quick Hits, baby. Quick Hits is a segment of the show that we want to make sure that we bring you some up-to-date information on what's happening across the nation. We don't need a whole segment dedicated to it. We just going to make sure that we individually bring you guys up to speed on what's happening out in these streets. I got good news, I got bad news, and I got interesting news. Y'all ready to get to the news? All right, let's get to it then. So, oh man, here we go. All right. First and foremost, the governor. I remember when they was calling him the governor because he was the governor of California. He's actually a Republican, but they voted him in, and they was actually getting somebody that was halfway decent. They was calling him the governor, and he was driving a Hummer, even though they was out there in California and everybody was suffering, and they all wanted to get Priuses in order to adjust to climate change. The governor recently got stopped over in Germany, and this is why. Take a look.
Actor and former California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger was detained for several hours by customs agents at Munich airport yesterday. Officials accused the action star of violating tax laws by failing to declare a luxury watch that he was wearing. Schwarzenegger was on his way to Austria, where the watch was going to be sold at a charity auction. Sources say Arnold tried to pay the taxes on the spot, but the customs credit card machine wasn't working. And the cash limit at the ATM was too low. So he did finally pay up when a new credit card machine was brought in. Problem solved.
Yeah, if I had a dime for every time that happened. No, just kidding.
Hey, thanks for watching.
So the governor was detained in Munich. I guess they were auctioning off a watch. I think it was an AP. So it was a pretty expensive watch. A lot of people are not familiar with having to declare certain things. And even when I go overseas or when I go out of town and stuff like that, I'm very careful about what I carry with me. I got safes, I got safe deposit boxes, I got everything. So I very rarely actually carry anything expensive with me. And make sure that y'all not checking y'all stuff inside of y'all luggage. I never check anything that's super expensive in my luggage. I keep my watches on me. I usually wear them. I've never had any problem. And if I'm ever going overseas, I never bring anything with me that's that expensive unless I'm wearing it. And I only bring one of one. I don't bring all of them. I don't bring a whole bunch of them. So be careful with the laws when you're traveling, because they will take your stuff, they will detain it, they are aware of what it is that you got going on, and you don't want to get caught up in these streets, man. All right, just something a little fun. But in other news, Jonathan Majors was recently dropped from another movie, another one. So I know that he was doing his interviews. I don't know who advised him to do an interview, but he was doing his interviews and he was breaking down why he felt like he was the victim when he was convicted with his former ex, Grace Jabari. Now, it's funny because when I was going through and I was looking at the different content to see who was reporting on this, nobody was really reporting on the fact that Jonathan Majors just got dropped from another movie. It was the Dennis Rodman biopic that he got dropped from. So he got dropped from that movie. And it's funny because if you look at over a year ago when he first signed on to the movie, guess what he was talking about? I'm going to bring you up to speed. It's weird. It's very, very weird.
Incredible movie. Didn't know the story. Did you know the story?
I'm going to fast forward it a little bit because I actually want to get to a certain part in this interview, all right?
The first person that came to mind was this gentleman. There's such a specific richness and depth to capture there. There's no one working like him right now. So Jonathan was always Jesse.
Did you ever think that it would be the same man playing Dennis Rodman?
I didn't think those two guys were connected, but there's a common denominator now, I guess. Yeah.
You?
Yeah.
So I want to know, are we going to see Jonathan Majors in a white wedding dress a la Dennis Rodman?
Weird or no? Weird or no? See, people miss this footage. I'll be paying attention to what's happening in these streets. I'm paying attention to what's happening in these streets. The first question when the media found out that he had signed on to play Dennis Rodman was, are you going to put on a white dress? Let me keep playing it.
It's not out of the realm of possibility. Gotta make a movie. We gotta make the movie, so whatever it takes.
Oh, right now, you need to promise me you're putting on a white wedding dress.
I don't know if I can promise that. We gotta figure out what the director wants, but yeah.
You reach out to Dennis, though, and say, tell me everything?
It's on my list. Yeah. I know where he's at, and I think he's open-hearted and wants to collaborate. So I want to do justice by him for sure.
We're going to address this on After Hours. If y'all want to talk about it, we're going to break it down. We're going to have a conversation. A lot of people miss that. Nobody is paying attention to it. So this is a thing. Jonathan Majors was recently dropped from the Dennis Rodman biopic. Specifically, it goes on to say that since being convicted of reckless assault and harassment in December, his career has spiraled. Immediately after the verdict, Marvel cut ties with him. It goes on to say, following a festival premiere last January, magazine Dreams was picked up for distribution by Searchlight Pictures, and there was a plan in place to have the film be released in early December, setting up a title as a contender for award season. The movie was taken off the release calendar in October amid Majors' legal issues. The Hollywood Reporter is now saying that the indie arm of Walt Disney Studios has quietly returned rights of the movie to the filmmakers. The trade says that the plan isn't to shelve the movie, but instead shop it to other potential buyers, and then it goes on from there, so on and so forth. But essentially, They taking everything from him, while also we're unveiling previous footage of them asking him of whether or not he want to wear a white dress. I'm not a fan of people, having conversations about men wearing dresses in movies, but that's just me. And then last but not least, some good news, ladies and gentlemen. Spelman College, a female and her husband, allegedly they are billionaires. Spelman College recently got $100 million donation into their endowment. I want to see Umar Johnson praising these people, but this is the news and this is what's happening.
An exclusive and historic announcement comes from Spelman College. This is very exciting. The historically black women's college in Atlanta has been ranked #1 HBCU for 17 years in a row by U.S. News and World Report. The college produces the highest number of black women who go on to receive their PhDs in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Now let's listen in to the Spelman board chair. Her name is Lavette Russell, who is addressing Spelman students at a school assembly in the Sisters Chapel right now.
Welcome and good morning to all our Spelman community and especially my young Spelman sisters. As a student, I experienced the power of this historic institution and how it transforms the futures of talented young women. And today, as board chair, I know that some of the brightest young women who dream about coming to Spelman are facing financial hardships and barriers to a higher education. What I am sharing with you today is a major step to ensure more young women can achieve their dreams at Spelman College.
As we help celebrate this transformative gift to Spelman, we are very excited. There she is. Look at Madam President, Dr. Helene Gayle. She's here in the studio to discuss this historic announcement. I was watching your face, Dr. Gayle, as Mrs. Russell was talking. I know. I could feel it. I could feel it, yes.
We are back now.
So essentially, Spelman received a donation that was made by businesswoman and philanthropist Rhonda Stryker and her husband, William Johnston. Stryker is a Spelman College trustee going back to 1997, and according to the release, has worked for decades to empower women through higher education and advance opportunities for additional marginalized groups. The school's release said $75 million of the donation will go to endowed scholarships for future students, and the other $25 million will be used to develop an academic focus on public policy and democracy, improve student housing, and provide flexible funding to meet critical strategic needs. So the donation kicks off a hashtag 100 for 100 Spelman campaign, and they have a huge endowment and a gift that's been donated to them that is supposed to set the trend for alumni and people that has been successful at HBCUs coming back and donating to their alma mater. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is your quick hits. I think that's absolutely. Let me say this before I get off quick hits. I'm in support of it because one of the criticisms that I've always had for HBCUs is people always tell me about how successful they are, how much they come out and they're able to do great things for the people that surround them and they being so great and all of this stuff. And then I ask myself, well, how come y'all not participating and making sure that the school have endowments similar to the Ivy League schools that y'all complain that y'all competing against and that y'all beating in education and things like that, right? So for this to happen, I'm indifferent about whether or not it should happen or it shouldn't happen because I'm not the type of person to tell people what to do with their money. But then at the same time, I'm okay with it, and I see it as a step forward in people taking responsibility and ownership of what happens within their own communities and their own universities. If it's so meaningful to you, then why don't you do something about it? Why don't you donate your time? Why don't you donate your resources? How come you're not doing the same things that you're saying that everybody else is doing to their schools, but you're not doing it also if you're so successful? So I'm kind of indifferent about it because I didn't go to an HBCU, so it's not meaningful to me, and I'm never going to tell nobody what to do with their money. But if they decide that they want to donate $100 million for whatever it is that they want to donate towards, then good for them. At least it's going towards something good and it's not going into another rapper's pocket. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is your quick hits. And I am going to read a couple more super chats, and then we're going to go ahead and get started with the show and get really into it. Highly Offensive came through with the 5 ball and said, I got your back, big dog. Thank you, Highly Offensive. Also, Roger Marine is in the building and says, white men love to see black men in dresses. Man, it's crazy out here. Stand for what you believe in. Don't fall for the okie doke. And if it's not meaningful to you, you don't have to necessarily get into it. Dame Smith says, you know Dr. Umar jealous of Spelman right now. Dr. Umar been on tour a lot. He been doing a lot of different platforms. He'll never face me, though. Ever face me. So let's just keep it moving. We're going to go ahead and get it started with the show. And again, I appreciate you guys for continuing to tap in. Make sure you get that Teach Hanley 30% off your first order plus a free gift. And then last but not least, again, we're doing some great things inside of the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat, including Stock Club. It's an awesome thing, and I put that live stream up for you guys. Re-uploaded it so you can rewatch it, and hopefully you get some value from it. Let's go ahead and get into the show, y'all. So at the forefront of this movement is Brick Lady. Are you guys familiar with Brick Lady? This was the woman that went viral late last year, and she had the internet in a tiff and in an uproar, right? And so basically what happened was a bunch of women was sitting there coming to her defense, and they were super mad, and black men caught shrapnel in all of the hits, and we were being criticized for why we're not protecting the most marginalized group and the least protected amongst us, which they describe as black women, right? And so as we fought back and as we continue to expose the lies, one of the questions that was in my heart was, well, at what point will this woman then be held accountable? Because at so many tips, like, twists and turns, we see people do things, but nobody has to account for their actions if they don't have a penis in between their legs. And so I was trying to figure out, listen, how many times are you going to have women accuse men of things that they didn't do and then they can walk away without any repercussions? How many times can you have these people get a GoFundMe and they get all of this money and they do it multiple different times? Yet, if you see a man do it or you see somebody in other society do it, they have to be held accountable, and you can't just do what you want to do and get people finessed out of it. And then at what point will women bring themselves back to the congregation and say, you know what? I said it, I'm wrong. I said it, I'm wrong. Because I seen so many videos from women trying to hold men accountable. They was looking in the background of her video and they was saying, hey, look, they ain't doing nothing. They ain't doing nothing. Okay, well, let me bring you up to speed of what's happening, because we're now starting to get justice. But I just want women to remember what they said, because they were holding us accountable, but they never came back and said that they was wrong.
A woman at the center of a viral video who claimed a man threw a brick at her head because she would not give him her phone number is now wanted by Houston police. This story got national attention after that woman live streamed what she claimed was the aftermath on Instagram and started a GoFundMe. Only KPRC2's Bryce Newberry is talking with the prosecutor on this case tonight. He joins us live near the Galleria with the latest. Bryce?
Daniela, Houston police got called to this street in September, and when they arrived, the woman seen in that viral video told them that an Uber driver threw a brick at her head and then tried to kidnap her. But tonight, she has become the focus of this criminal investigation, because Houston police say the surveillance footage captured by cameras on this street doesn't match her story.
Yo, this man just hit me in my face with a brick, and all these black men just watched.
This video, with more than 1 million likes on the Shade Room's Instagram page, captured the moments after what appeared to be a brutal attack in West Houston.
Y'all gonna let a man hit me in my face?
The woman is 33-year-old Rhoda Osman.
What have I ever done to anybody in my life to deserve this?
Seen here in tears in a hospital gown.
I sat there and I went off and I was on mute the whole time. Oh my God, I had such an epic rant. Oh my God, I got it.
Told the detective that responded that she was hit in the head with a brick after she refused to give her phone number to a guy on the street.
And was that verified by any of the evidence that detectives looked at?
No, that was not verified.
Harris County prosecutor Keith Houston says surveillance videos from that early September morning show Osmond hitting a man first.
So she's the one she was the aggressor?
She was the aggressor, yes.
And it was a water bottle that hit her, not a brick?
He did have a water bottle in his hand, and we think that's what left the mark.
According to court documents, she asked someone else to launch this GoFundMe for her recovery, raising more than $42,000. But as the story went viral, a blogger on TikTok called police, alerting them to this 2020 GoFundMe, which claimed a vicious assault by a security guard in Minneapolis.
Let's stop here for a second. She assaulted a man. Let's just go by what the news say. She assaulted a man, and then he threw a water bottle at that chick. Sprayed her. Then she came off and lied. So you assaulted a man. This is what the cameras actually said. It wasn't a brick. It was water. It was water. And you hit him and you assaulted him, which means that he should have pressed charges against you. And then he threw some water at your butt. And then you got mad. And then you went on this epic rant. And you know the thing about liars? Let me tell you the thing about a liar. Somebody that lied. The reason why she can act so well in this whole clip. The reason that she can act so well in this whole clip is because they train themselves to believe what they're actually saying to you, and so it then is meaningful to them. Like, they lie to themselves before they lie to you. So that's what makes it so believable. That's why it's so easy for y'all not to put together your context clues, do the investigation, try to figure out it's innocent until proven guilty. And then when you find out the right information, you want to believe her so bad. And so you a liar within your spirit too. Everybody that believed her just by default, and then you started going off on men as a result of it, you wanted to believe her. You're looking for somebody in order to really validate how you feel already about men. And so that's why it was so easy for you to go off, or so easy for you to just jump off the bridge. And then you just wanted to believe her because you a liar within your spirit, and all she did was feed you. She fed you her lie. You ate it up, and you felt better about yourself. And that's why you won't bring yourself back to the front of the congregation to address the fact that you actually was wrong.
Detective Thornton verified with Minneapolis police that there was no assault done at that time. It was completely fictional.
Prosecutors allege theft by deception and believe she would have received all that money had the campaign not been shut down.
The violence that I have suffered since September 3rd is just unbelievable. I can't even believe I'm here. They try to leave me for dead.
In an Instagram story posted Wednesday, Osmond addressed those who have doubted her.
I actually have things going on in my life. I actually have real ways to make money. I don't have to get a GoFundMe for money. I actually can earn income because I'm actually educated and I actually am talented.
And tonight, a spokesperson for GoFundMe telling KPRC2 GoFundMe has zero tolerance for the misuse of our platform. The fundraiser has been removed from the platform. All donors have been refunded, and Rhoda Osmond has been banned from using the platform for any future fundraisers. Osmond.
Let's stop for a minute and let's acknowledge all of the people that got finessed, both emotionally and financially, with not just her, with all of the different things that's happened throughout society. Let's give a round of applause for all of y'all. And you know why? Because y'all want to believe so bad that you're a victim that you attach yourself to anything that's victimizing. Remember when y'all was running around with Black Lives Matters t-shirts on and y'all was protesting even though they was telling us to stay 6 feet apart from each other and they was preventing us from opening up our businesses, but they was allowing y'all to get together and protest for a group that identified itself on its own website as a Marxist organization. And you guys went out there and you bought t-shirts and you gave money and you gave millions of dollars and you held your jobs and these corporate entities accountable for not getting behind it. And the NBA painted Black Lives Matters and they all knelt down on one knee and they rejected the national anthem and they brought back Colin Kaepernick, and Colin Kaepernick wasn't really even trying to play, and so he made fun of y'all and made a mockery of y'all, and they forced us to look at all of these stupid things on the back of these NBA player jerseys in the bubble, and we had to subject ourselves to it, and y'all was out here looking like a fool. And then when them hoes, excuse me, this is the Millionaire Morning Show, when them women, those women's went up there and they was sipping on mimosas on that video, and y'all got mad at Candace Owens for calling them out for using y'all money and y'all donations to hire a white security guard, and then to spend y'all money on anything outside of what was actually happening within your community. Y'all got mad at Candace, but y'all never brought y'all sisters back to the organization, back to the front of the congregation. Remember that? How many more times are y'all going to get finessed? How many more times are we not going to hold people accountable for all of the stuff that happened within y'all environment? How many more people got to finesse y'all? How many more years? Look, how much longer is Umar Johnson going to be on tour versus actually being a principal for a school that he's been opening for the last 15 years? I'm just asking. Just curious. I have no problem with people getting their money. No problem. But what I do have a problem with is y'all continuing to champion the Victim Olympics while at the same time getting finessed out of y'all bag and nobody is actually adding any value to you. If you're going to give money to something, at least get something from it. At least justify it for me. Tell me that at least you got entertained, you feeling good about yourself, but please stop telling me that you're subjecting yourself to this nonsense and you just going to keep getting finessed out of your bag over and over and over and over and over again. I'm just curious. I'm just wondering. How much longer are y'all going to get finessed out of y'all bag? And are these women and these people that's running in the Victim Olympics going to make a mockery of you? Just curious. Just wondering. So shout out to the investigators and the people in Houston that is doing the Lord's work for making sure that they go and check the video cameras. And justice takes time. So, they finally wind up releasing the information to the general public. They're not as swift as Alabama with the white baby that was walking down the street in Mississippi or whatever. And she said that she got kidnapped by some white people. They're not as swift as those people over there. But shout out to the Houston police for finally doing something good and actually identifying and uncovering this fraud investigation.
Did not respond when I reached out to her on Instagram this evening. Tonight, she is wanted here in Harris County on that theft charge. Anyone with information on her whereabouts can report that to Houston police.
I'm going to post this on my Instagram, a wanted poster. We're going to get my editors on it real quick. We're going to get a wanted poster up. We're going to make sure that we get this word out to the people. Houston police want to talk to her. Houston police want to talk to Brick Lady. We don't want you on the run. We want you actually safely in custody, facing retribution and charges that comes along with making fraud and false claims. And the people want the money back, not just for what it is that they got from the GoFundMe, but they want their money back from using police resources to investigate something that wind up finding out that you was the one that was the aggressor and the person that was trying to use and finesse the people for their money. We want Brick Lady in handcuffs and justice to be served. I want Brick Lady in handcuffs and for justice to be served. I don't advocate for people to get arrested, but I think that the people need to be really fairly compensated with equity and justice and for all. That's my version of diversity, equity, and inclusion. I want you to include yourself in the penal system to make sure that you pay your debt to society, and I want my license plates ASAP. I want my license plates made ASAP. Sick of this. All right? Shout out to y'all. Let me read some of the super chats. And then we going to move over And I'm going to work on never, ever muting myself again, because once I get on the road, I don't even be looking at the chat. I just got to glance over at it. Then they'd be like, mute it. And I just be like, oh, my God. What did I do to myself this time? Shout out to my dog, Andrea, Love Crossing Borders, Super Chat. They said, support Detroit male content. Let's go. Shout out to y'all. TR is in the building, says, bring them to the front of the congregation. They owe men an apology. You know we ain't never going to get it. They just be like, man up. Just man up. It's okay. It's okay. Get that woman a job in Hollywood. P.S. You muted. She the greatest actor I ever seen. Queen V is in the building, says, would you believe black women still double down talking about she did get hit with a water bottle? Like I see how men play on women, we lie to ourselves. And they standing on that. And thank you for telling me that I was muted. Thank you to Class E Beats for telling me that I was muted. I appreciate you. Thank you to Time Out for saying Anton said I'm going to mute up so y'all don't hear me cussing. Oh, okay, I'm banning the mute button. I'm actually going to remove it from, let me see if I can remove this mute. I can't remove it. I'm going to try to remove it. Here's to the re-rant fund. You got to hire that sign language lady. Oh, my God. As my brother, Molly brethren say, this is crazy. Wallaha. Appreciate you. I for you. Says, Queen Bee says, common sense and intuition ain't for real no more. Sisterhood really got finesse, says, what the hell? Kofi is in the building, says, Anton, remember Willie Simp D chastising black men for this lie. He owe us an apology. That's what jumping to. Yeah, we gonna address all of that. See, that's why I like doing after hours, because on after hours I can address all of the problems and the issues, and we can bring back this stuff so that we can revisit it and say, hey, was we right or was we wrong? Kelly Jonas says, migrants will be citizens by the next election cycle. I believe so. J Dub is in the building, says, Umar said another 20 million and he will open the school. He's so fake. Rod Jones says, Brick Lady Erica Badu. I appreciate you. Queen V is in the building, says, the thing is, AD, the hate from black women to black men, for the most part, comes from being cheated on. The hate from black women, the hate from black women to black men, for the most part, comes from being cheated on. Not abuse, not thieving, not drugs. They will tolerate all that as long as he don't cheat. But we'll be a side B, for real, hurt and bitter. I don't think that that's true, Queen B. Honestly, you know what I think? I think that if anybody should be pissed, it should be men. It should be men. As far as the whole cheating conversation, because I honestly, in my heart, based off of my own life experiences, my coaching and talking to people that deal with a lot of different people, I believe that women cheat 200 times more than men. I think that women cheat way more than men. And then they die with the lie. And then you wake up one day and you be like, hey, how come I don't look like my daddy? Or where's my lineage? And it's saying that I'm something different. I think that women cheat way more than men. You know what? That's why women have such a high tolerance. That's what I'm learning. Is because they already did their dirt. I think that women have already done their dirt. Shout out to Q. I think Island Girl Q in the building. I think that women have already done their dirt. And so it's a perception that women tolerate more, but it's not. It's really that women are already emotionally connected to another man and they did their dirt. So when they hold the man accountable for cheating, it might just be a formality, but she done already did her lick and got her lick back before he ever did anything. I'm telling you, man, we gonna have this debate. Make sure y'all tune in to After Hours with Anton Daniels if we do it tonight. Considering that I think that this procedure is gonna go well. Make sure y'all tune in to After Hours tonight because we're going to have an uncomfortable conversation for real. Mr. Lott said we need a bag chaser's most wanted list, and she going to be at the top of the list right now. Kelly Jones is in the building, says migrants are given a C11 category. Wow, nothing can change. Shout out to you. Keep me updated. King of Kings says protect black women from black women. That's a wave right there. That's it right there. Protect black women from black women. Antonio Watkins says, when a woman dislikes Candace Owens, I have to ask why. After this conversation, I have to evaluate whether I want to invest any more. Brett, don't invest no more energy into it, Antonio. Not even a little bit. Yeah, I think that if in my heart, I think that women have been some of the most crazy creatures on the face of the earth. Anyways, we're going to get into it. Let's continue, y'all. So there has been people that is now coming forward. I'm going to make my bones off of this migrant crisis. I'm telling you. I'm going to get my $30 million based off of the migrant crisis. I got you, Queen V. I'm going to read that shortly. There are people now coming forward that has been working for the federal government for a long time. And they're basically saying, listen, this migrant crisis and borders open is by design. I'm going to bring y'all into the conversation. But first, let me give you an update of what's going on with the migrant crisis so that you can understand exactly why we're having this conversation and why it's important. Over in New York, migrants are standing in line in order to try to get into a shelter, even though we've had this brutal winter, this brutal cold over the past week and a half, and it's just getting worse.
Some migrants have become so desperate to find housing, they're willing to sleep outside a reticketing center and the freezing temperatures to be first in line to reapply for shelter this morning.
About 20 degrees out there this morning. Pretty dangerous. Fox 5's Lizette Nunez is live outside of the enrollment center in Brooklyn with the very latest. Lizette, what are you seeing?
Dan, Tashani, well, lots of people here lined up outside of this particular office because they only accept walk-ins. That's why you have people standing out here in the bitter cold and also sleeping out here, all in the hopes of getting an ID NYC card by the end of the day.
I am cool. As temperatures have dipped below freezing for days, migrants continue to line up to receive shelter and services. This was the site at St. Bridget's School in the East Village. This couple from Guinea showed up yesterday to get placed in a new shelter after the 30 days were up. But the reticketing offices had closed by the time they got there.
It's my first time to this situation. In my life, I never have these difficulties.
Well, that's what happens when you come into a place and you don't know what you're getting yourself into. You should have stayed in your own country. That's what happens. You were seeking a better life, and we got this cold for you, boy. We got this nice cold winter waiting right on for you. You thought that you was going to get you a hotel room at the Roosevelt. But no, we got this cold concrete hanging out for you. And you know New York, the thing about New York is that New York is going through a process where they're preventing homeless people from being able to sleep on the usual places that they would normally sleep. So now, you know, whereas you still got a large migrant population or a large homeless population hanging out in the subway and sleeping on trains and stuff like that because they just hide theirs a little better than LA. But the reality is that the grates, the chairs, the public parks and all of that is designed to keep you uncomfortable, and you can't sleep on these places or on these grates or any of this stuff anymore because by design, they don't want you to disrupt what they got going on with the tourism industry because they largely dependent on tourism in order to fill holes and the gaps in the budget.
More migrants braved the cold at a city office in Brooklyn. Mutual Aid was at hand giving out coffee and hot soup as migrants waited in line for a chance to get an ID NYC card.
Entonces la única esperanza es hacer un poquito de centavos aquí, como me den el papel por un mes, por 3 meses.
Hey, imagine complaining in a different language in a country whose primary language you don't even know and understand while you came up here in order to get something free. And now you sitting in the cold and the concrete trying to figure out how it is that you're going to survive. Imagine coming over here and complaining and holding somebody accountable for a place that you're not supposed to be in, and you came over here illegally in the first place. Imagine that.
Que Dios sea lo que sea, y en ese tiempo Dios me va a bendecir con un buen trabajo.
This woman from Honduras says she's 61 and is hoping to make some money. She says she's willing to do whatever, including sweeping the streets. But there is a misconception that an ID NYC card will automatically lead to a job. Migrants still need to be granted federal work authorization, which itself can be a long legal process. Immigrant advocates worry that misinformation, coupled with desperation, is unnecessarily causing migrants to put their health and lives at risk in the bitter cold.
So this office in Brooklyn opens at 9 this morning. So the people that
That's insane. Are you seeing this? Are y'all watching this? Are y'all looking at this? That's insane. That, I can't sleep. I can't sleep.
You're looking at right now, they have to be here outside for at least 4 more hours. Now, because of the cold temperatures, you're taking a look at people here sleeping on cardboard boxes and also placing pieces of wood between them and also the ground to kind of serve as a barrier and try to keep them warm during these really cold temperatures.
So while Eric Adams was in New York City, holding Los Angeles accountable for the conditions that Los Angeles have for their homeless population and for their migrant population, people are sleeping in sub-zero weather on cardboard trying to figure out how they're going to stay warm. And you was over there talking about send us all of your sick, your poor, your migrants and all of that. And now you cutting the budget and you messing up everything that we got going on. Listen, all of this could have been solved if we just had properly managed and not set expectations for people being able to walk over in here and do whatever they wanted to do when they wanted to do it. All of this could have been solved. But check this out, y'all. This is very, very interesting. A lot of y'all don't see this type of stuff because this may not necessarily be a part of your algorithm. But check this out. This was a hearing that was recently held, I believe yesterday. And this is very, very, very damning information.
I started my career in immigration enforcement in 1984 as a Border Patrol agent. I've worked for 6 presidents, up to Donald Trump. Every president I've ever worked for took some steps to secure the border because they understood you can't have strong national security if you don't have border security. But President Biden is the first president in the history of this nation that I know of who came in office and unsecured the border on purpose. And
he said on purpose. Let me rewind it for y'all because I don't want y'all to be misconstrued on exactly what's being communicated to you. He's the first president. He served under 6 presidents, including Trump. And Biden is the first president. This is the person that y'all voted for. I just want y'all to understand this. You had so many different options, and this is who you voted for. He's the first president since he's been working with immigration that purposely unsecured the border. This is somebody that worked specifically under 6 different presidents.
And even President Obama and unsecured the border on purpose.
On purpose.
And even President Obama gave me the Presidential Rank Award, highest award available. Because what was I doing at the time? I was locating and deporting people that are in the country illegally.
He said President Obama gave him an award. This is how high up he's in and how much visibility he has and what his credentials are, so you guys can actually understand who's communicating to you.
So we went for the most secure border of my lifetime, and it's not just my opinion. I've done this for 34 years. Anybody can go to cbp.gov and look at the data. We handed this administration the most secure border in my lifetime.
He said Trump, despite the fact that he was against all odds and against as much opposition as you can possibly think of in your life, Trump gave Biden the most secure border in his lifetime. This is not his opinion. This is some data that you can go and look up according to him. He's telling you this. He's telling you out of his mouth that he received awards from Obama and that when the keys was handed over from person to person, from Trump over to Biden, that we had the most secure borders in his lifetime. This is what he's telling you, okay? This is what y'all fought against, and this is what you voted for. I just want to remind you of that.
And within months, we went from the most secure border to historic illegal immigration, numbers we've never seen before. And it's not because it's seasonal. It's not because of climate change. It's not because of Trump. This is by design.
If it's a lie, he told it. If it's a lie, he told it. He said literally, Tom Homan, he said, this is by design. This is not something that's a mistake. This is not an oversight. They didn't forget to go and secure the borders. They're not fighting back and forth with Texas. For whatever reason, This is by design. Now, you know what's going to happen, right? You know what's going to happen. Come election time, all of y'all going to get distracted by some latest scandal or some latest thing. It's going to be some police officer that's getting in trouble for busting in somebody's house and doing something wrong. And we all going to get mad at it. And y'all going to be protesting and you're going to be distracted. And then they basically going to secure your vote again. Okay? We all know that this is happening. We know that it's coming. It's really just a matter of time. We just waiting on the execution. I'm trying to see what the play gonna be before it's gonna be it. But once I spot it, a boy right here on the Millionaire Morning Show, I'm gonna bring it to the front of the congregation. And he's telling you, listen, we had the most secure borders, and this is literally by design. Whatever's happening right now, they're doing it on purpose. They're not misunderstood. They're not trying to figure it out. It's on purpose.
We already heard about some of these people are coming because of economic reason or natural disasters. The bottom line is, when you claim asylum, you must be escaping fear and persecution from your home government because your race, religion, political affiliation, or membership in a particular social group. That is not the fact. If you look at immigration court data over the last 10 years, you'll see that nearly 9 out of 10 people who claim asylum at the border never get relief from U.S. courts that simply don't qualify. But they're coming and staying because of Biden's promises. I wrote an op-ed 6 months before the election. I said, President Biden becomes president, we'll lose the border, based on the promises he was making during the campaign. And he's kept those promises. Right now, we have record numbers of illegal aliens coming across the border. Catch and release is rampant. Right now, Secretary Mayorkas already said 85% of everybody coming to the border is being released in the country. They're not being detained. And why are they being detained? Because of 2 reasons. Number one, because he knows, like I do, that vast majority of these people will be ordered removed 5, 6, 7 years down the road, maybe 10. He also knows the Homeland Security Life Cycle Report says if you get an order removal and you're in an ICE bed, you get removed 99% of the time. But if you're not in detention, your chances of being removed are slim. If you're a family unit, it's about 6%. That's why they're releasing them. Thousands of empty ICE beds sitting there right now, already paid for by the taxpayer. They'd rather release them because they know the vast majority will lose their case and they'll be ordered removed, but if they're not in detention, they won't be removed. So this administration comes up with what they call lawful pathways, which I think are illegal, and I think they'll lose when the decision of the courts come out. The CBP-1 app, 95.8% are approved. Where's the case-by-case analysis that is supposed to be done for people for parole? It's not being done. It's a shell game. They move people, they move thousands to the port of entry so they can claim less illegal entries between the port of entries, but it's failed because November to December we saw record amounts of crossings on the border, over 300,000 just in December. And people who say that the border is not in crisis, I tell you this, in 2020, the total encounters on the southwest border is 646,000. This year, 3.2 million, 5 times what we saw during.
So when you go back, because see, it's a lot of people in here that's going to act like they didn't vote for Biden, but I know that you did. Because you was a part of the movement. You was posting it. I seen y'all post on y'all Instagram. Y'all had the black image, the black out in order to support Black Lives Matter. And he didn't get elected by a ghost or a phantom. He still received tens of millions of votes and whatever. Whether you believe he stole it or not, that's irrelevant. When you go back and you look at your behavior and why you did what you did, similar to what we experienced with Brick Lady, when you go back and you look at why it is that you did what you did, do you look at yourself and are you happy and satisfied with your decision and you stand on that just out of pride, or do you regret your decision considering what it is that's happening to you in your neighborhoods today? That's all I want to know.
In last year, Trump administration. Court orders are years out, but this administration's counting on it. You overflow the system. It'll push these court dates back 7, 8 years. And what's going to happen? Mark my word. When they finally get order removal 7 years down the road, they'll have a USC child. They'll have 2 USC children. They'll get phone calls from, the director of ICE will get phone calls from the Hill saying, why'd you remove that person with 2 USC kids? Well, he didn't have 2 USC kids when he entered the country legally. So now that he has 2 USC kids, he's immune from the law. The court order means nothing. So
and that's exactly what happens.
Here's what I'm looking for. If for people who demand these people have a right to claim asylum, they have a right to due process. I agree. But due process doesn't mean anything if the final decision of the courts is not executed and people aren't removed.
And so basically people come over here and they have children while they're here, which then makes their children an American citizen, and it prevents them from being able to be removed. And now at some point they become American citizens and they can say, well, I'm immigrated over here and I did really, really well, whatever, blah, 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 blah. Because the court system and the way that the legal system is set up to prevent and allow for them to continue to be here long enough to actually be able to become people that control and determine what's going to happen within our elections, that's going to happen within our economic system, filling up jobs, maybe even doing jobs that a lot of people don't want to do. And so when you say, well, why is it by design? It's because it's an agenda behind it. And I don't know who's behind the agenda. I don't know who's telling who to do what. But for us to sit here and ignore it and just to continue to vote the way that we vote, understanding that these people are bought and paid for and they doing stuff that's not in your best interest, is insane to me. And I just wish my people, and when I say my people, I'm talking about all people that's in the United States of America, not just black people. I wish my people will wake the hell up. Like, when y'all gonna wake up and just be like, hey, okay, look, you know what? We was running in the Victim Olympics. We were wrong. We did get it wrong, but I'm disgusted at this situation now. And so you ain't got to admit it to me. Take it to God. Go in your prayer closet and say, you know what, God, maybe we got this one wrong. And that wasn't really your voice that was telling me that this makes sense. That was the devil that was talking to me at the time, because I was already full of the devil and doing stuff I wasn't supposed to do. At what point are we going to say, you know what, we got that one wrong? Not Martin Luther King, not Malcolm X, not somebody that came before you. You got it wrong. You got it wrong, and you set your children up to fail by aligning yourself with identity politics and what people were saying around you instead of doing your own research. And maybe you didn't find the Millionaire Morning Show until after the election was over. Okay, I get it. But God, please don't make the same mistake twice. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. For real, for real. Let me read some of these super chats, and then I'm going to keep going because we got some more to address really quickly with regard to this. But I want to break it up a little bit because it's a lot to cover, okay? Queen V says, you are right. I hate to say it, but we act innocent and be doing some of the wildest things, baby. Shout out to Brittany B says, Mexican Harriet Tubman. How? Come on, man. King of Kings. You know, it was a song by Royce the 5'9" called King of Kings, where he was basically describing and crowning himself the king of rappers, and that he was basically like the second coming, and he was doing his song similar to Jesus, and it was like the heart of the heart, the wet, the wounded rebel, and Jerusalem getting picked on and whipped by the goons of the devil. Black man 5'9", be the dawn when he stands out with wool hair and feet of thorns. It was the first song that I had ever heard from Royce the 5'9", and it was called King of Kings. And the way he painted the picture, that sent chills up my spine when I had first heard it, because he was actually really cool with this guy named B.O. His name was Bo, and he grew up with my brothers. And they all went to Oak Park High School together. Not my brothers, but the twins. It was Ronald and Donald. And they went to Oak Park High School with Royce the 5'9", but they had originally grew up with my brothers in the hood over here in Detroit. And they had played me this song. This was way before Eminem came out and before y'all ever knew what Eminem was or anything like that. And it was Royce the 5'9", and Royce the 5'9" was the man lyrically. And he had did this song, and it was called King of Kings, which was later released, on an album or on a mixtape or whatever like that. And all of these songs, and then they start playing all of these Eminem songs, and I was like, who is that guy? And it was like, this guy named Eminem. He's sick or whatever, and he was spitting and all of that. And then we had got into it with Royce the 5'9"'s crew. It wasn't Royce, but we got into it with this Royce the 5'9" crew. And they used to call themselves Wall Street. And it was this guy named Ja 5'9". It was Royce, it was Trey Little, it was B.O., and it was a bunch of other people. And this is just, listen, this was Detroit politics before social media ever happened. And they got mad because, we didn't feel like they was the kings of Detroit. We thought that, hey, you from Oak Park, and we know some real dudes over here that'll mop the floor with you. Ultimately, they were the greatest lyricists or whatever. And it was all ego that was talking. But it was a song called King of Kings that Royce the 5'9" had came out with. And maybe I'll start telling some of these stories of how I grew up and the stuff that I experienced and the things that I've seen from my lens on After Hours. And that's why y'all got to come over to After Hours and come kick it with Anton Daniels, because y'all going to get some unfiltered stuff that I don't necessarily, or I can't necessarily have a conversation about on the Millionaire Morning Show because it's different content. But shout out to King of Kings. That just kind of reminded me of that. It says, what do you think of the small or minority business enterprise program? I'm torn on it because I think it's beneficial because it's like affirmative action too. If you can benefit from it, then take any leg up that you can get from it. But I'm not a heavy fan and supporter of anybody that's trying to get somebody a leg up based off of identity politics. I don't believe in affirmative action. I don't think that should happen. I think they should abolish the NAACP. I think that they should, all of this stuff, United Negroes, college funds, just because you're a minority, all of that stuff, I think that it messes up the fabric of who we are in the United States of America. And I think that we should be done with all of this identity stuff. I think that if you're going to get in, then you need to get in on your own merits and stop looking for a handout or a leg up for somebody just because you was born something that you can't even control, that you never really experienced. So that's my particular, but if you can leverage it, then use it as an individual and take advantage of it before it's too late. Queen V says, me and my husband, both disabled veterans, and what's going on in our government and military got us doomsday prepping. Like, for real, we got to wake up. No time for a divide between black men and black women. Seriously. I feel you. I'm with you, Queen. I'm with you, Queen. I'm with you, baby. Blaze Skywalker says, so they use COVID to get people comfortable enough not to go back to work to replace citizens, and it all ties in. Shout out to Blaze. Brandon McMillan says, I got this 5-ball for you. David Simpson Jr. says, if they were not expected to be future voters, that border would be tighter than the Great Wall of China. Dynamic Mentality says, never be quick to join or believe in emotionally charged movement, i.e. identity politics. Stay calm and search for the facts. And that's how you're able to make a more informed decision. My dog, Chris J, is in the building, says, Royce 5'9" is a whole legend alongside M the GOAT. Thank you, my friend, for the super chat. I agree. I don't agree with Royce's identity politics stuff or where he stand on from a political perspective. But I think that he's a great artist, so I'm able to separate the two. All right, let's continue over. So let's continue over with this conversation really quickly, y'all, before we switch over into Tiffany Henyard and then getting over to the money. Texas is taking a stand. Now that we have more information, now that we're making more informed decisions, Texas is now taking a stand against the migrant mandates that's being handed down by the Biden administration. But before we really deep dive into that, let me bring you up to speed of what's happening as far as this reformed border.
A federal court has reversed an order that required Texas to remove floating barriers from the Rio Grande.
So it means the barricades to deter illegal immigration can remain in place at least until a hearing in May. The defeat for the Biden administration comes as the president invited congressional leaders to the White House to discover a path forward on the border. Fox 4's Blake Hansen joining us with the latest. Blake.
Yeah, Heather and Steve, there's been no agreement on a deal just yet, but some Senate leaders say they are hopeful for action as soon as next week.
One of Texas's tools to combat the border crisis can remain in place for now. That after the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals in New Orleans reversed a December decision.
So it showed an interesting difference of opinion.
David Cole is a constitutional law attorney who has been closely following the case in front of the conservative Fifth Circuit. While a 3-judge panel had sided with the Biden administration in December, Wednesday's decision means each of the circuit's 17 judges will now take a look in May.
So it seems that a majority of the court, they may not think the panel is wrong, but they certainly have some serious questions about how the panel got there on this question of federal versus state authority at the border, and they want to thoroughly air it out. So it's going to get a lot of scrutiny in May when this goes before the full Fifth Circuit.
While legal wrangling continues over border strategy, top congressional leaders gathered at the White House for a meeting with President Biden on the border. Lawmakers have been trying to hash out a deal that would provide aid to Ukraine in exchange for policy changes on border security.
I can't, it's to think that the thing that they standing on is border security over in exchange for aid for Ukraine, Taiwan, in the Israel war is insane to me. That's the chess piece. That's your chess move. Aid to Ukraine in exchange for border security. Now, border security is supposed to be your norm. That's like it's like you going into your household as a husband and you got your wife and you saying, listen, I'm not going to pay no bills and anybody can come into this house whenever they want. We're not going to put no locks on the door. Anybody can come in, use my refrigerator, and we still got to make sure we take care of them, house them, and they going to make us uncomfortable. And it don't really matter about what happened to our daughter, right? Look at the parallel. This is the equivalent, right? We are under duress from our leaders. We are children. We are my daughter and your son, right? And your daughter and your son, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, don't want our doors to be open and don't want the fact that they can't go into the refrigerator, they can't come out and use the restroom, or somebody is in their restroom and taking over their household. And then her parents say, well, listen, me and your mama is having a disagreement. Now, until we resolve this disagreement, I want to go out here and do some crazy stuff. I want to go out here and trick some money off on some hoes, right? Now, in exchange for me making sure that everybody is going on and taking care of their business and getting these people out of our household and securing our doors, your mama gonna have to agree to let me spend our money that we both work for to go spend it and trick it off on some hoes. And meanwhile, we all, as children, are sitting around trying to understand, why are these people in our household eating up all of our food and we got to put them on our health care coverage? Because they taken away from the resources that actually can be going into her. And why do we now have a budget deficit? Why we got to start sleeping in the cold in this household because we can't pay the light bill? Because now, the budget that we had that was okay is blown out and we trying to figure out. And so us as residents, as children, go over to our mother and our father and say, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? Fix what's going on. Change the locks in the house. Prevent people from just being able to walk in here. They shouldn't be that comfortable. They shouldn't be that comfortable. That's basically the equivalent. Literally. That is what we're dealing with, but except for the fact that it's on a national level, so we don't think that it affects us as much as it would, as it directly affects us with what's going on in our household. Unless you in New York, unless you in Denver, unless you in LA, unless you in Chicago, right? And so at what point, because you know what Texas is? Texas is the other resident. Texas is in the same building as us because this whole building is the United States of America, right? But because Texas is on the ground floor, Texas is on floor 1. Now, we as New York, Chicago, Denver, LA, we all on the top floor, right? We in a penthouse. So we've been hanging out. We've been enjoying all of the financial resources. It get a little bit colder up here because, it gets more windy as you go higher within whatever building that you're in. But we just been enjoying life. But Texas is on the ground floor. Louisiana, Florida, Phoenix, or Arizona, right? And they getting them all coming in. And so they said, you know what? We tired of the migrants that's continuing to come over in here. And y'all keep voting and telling everybody that's managing, the property managers over here, that it's okay. And y'all keep overriding us and y'all supporting this nonsense. And you keep letting the owners of the building let people coming in here without any kind of secure doors. I tell you what, we gonna start sending them up the elevator and letting them go where they want to go. And then the migrants start coming up and they say, yo, I want to come into Anton's place. And I want to come over to Yoke. I want to go to the Azriel's place. I want to go to Black Beauty's place. I want to go to Nurses Ain't Nice place. I want to go to Trini's Life place. And so then we saying, hey, we can't handle all of this. Texas, stop sending these people up here. But instead of us holding Texas accountable, we supposed to be getting on the property manager and the owners of the building because we should have more secure doors that does not allow for people to come in here that's not supposed to be here. So the logic of it doesn't make sense. And so we trying to figure out why you keep letting our doors open. Why is this intentional? Why are we seeing people with these shirts on and wife beaters, these young men that's walking over here with shirts on and wife beaters, coming through the water sweating, and we can't protect our own doors and we supposed to just leave it open for everybody else?
Put the chances a little bit greater than half now. And that's the first time I can say that.
Republican leadership did not strike as optimistic of a note.
We understand that there's concern about the safety, security, sovereignty of Ukraine, but the American people have those same concerns about our own domestic sovereignty and our safety and our security.
But amid recent comments from Johnson expressing skepticism about a broader immigration deal, Senate Republicans reiterated Wednesday the need to act now.
To my Republican colleagues, this is a historic moment to reform the border in a way that would give tools to the next president they don't have today and lessen the flow to take pressure off people in Texas and Arizona.
So let's back up for a minute. Because as this happens and as they continue to use you, the American people, as hostages, because you still paying your taxes, you paying your HOA fees. Remember our analogy that we're talking about as far as Texas being at the ground floor, Louisiana being at the ground floor, right? We all still paying the same HOA fees. We all still making sure that we paying our monies, but we being held hostage against our will because we don't have anywhere else to go. And they telling us, hey, if you don't like it, then go get your passport and move into another building. In the meantime, Texas agents is now getting a little bit swifter. They own it. The people that's at the bottom of the building, they said, listen, we don't care. We're about to start arresting these people and putting them out.
Texas has defied a request from the federal government to remove authorities from a public park along the U.S. border in Eagle Pass. State agents also began arresting migrants at the border against federal warnings last night. The Biden administration has argued the park's seizure has prevented Border Patrol agents from doing their job. And now the Department of Homeland Security is looking into possible legal solutions against state officials. So joining me now with more on this ongoing battle at the border is CBS News immigration reporter Camilo Montoya-Galvez. He's been following the story for us from New Jersey. Camilo, good to see you again this morning. We've been talking about this for several days now. The deadline has come and gone. And this morning, we have new video of Texas state troopers arresting migrants at Shelby Park. What is going on there? This is supposed to be, just to remind people, a federal responsibility. It's not the responsibility of state authorities.
That's right, Anne-Marie. Good morning. Traditionally, arresting migrants who cross into the U.S. illegally has been a federal responsibility under the laws passed by Congress and the regulations of the federal government. But now we are seeing the Texas Department of Public Safety, the state troopers, if you will, in Texas, arrest some migrants at Shelby Park, that area that it has sealed off to the broader public and Border Patrol. And they are doing this as part of a broader initiative to arrest migrants who are alleged to have trespassed on private property. Texas troopers have been arresting single adult males and females on trespassing charges for over 2 years now, and they have been doing so with the consent of private property owners who have to sign affidavits. In this case, the city of Eagle Pass, Anne-Marie, has signed an affidavit that allows the state to arrest these migrants on trespassing charges. These migrants are typically arrested, booked into one of the local county jails, and then jailed for weeks or even months until they plead guilty, or they are convicted, or they are able to pay some sort of bond to get out of state custody. They, after that, are typically arrested by Immigration and Customs Enforcement, another federal agency, and then they are released. So this is basically an effort to jail and prosecute some migrants who are crossing into the U.S. illegally. And the state actually hopes to expand this initiative, Anne-Marie, through SB4, that state law that we have talked about before. This will allow the state to arrest migrants like they're doing so now, but without the consent of local property owners. It will be a crime to cross into Texas illegally anywhere along the U.S.-Mexico border.
So
now, correct me if I'm wrong. Shouldn't it be a crime to cross over illegally? I mean, isn't that the whole idea of it being illegal? Shouldn't it be a crime to cross over anywhere illegally over into the United States of America without permission or authority? I could be off. When the headline now says Texas defies federal threat to abandon the border area. Now, why would the federal government threaten the state of Texas to not secure its own borders? Just think about this for a minute. It sounds like the craziest thing that I've ever seen in my lifetime. The federal government is threatening a state to abandon its own border area. What in God's name are we experiencing right now? Now, Texas is the bad guy, and I actually seen some black people talking about this on the app the other day, and they are mad at Texas for securing its own borders and not abiding by the requirements and the threats that's being made by the federal government to abandon its own borders. That is the most insane request that I've ever heard of in my entire life from the federal government over into a state. Even these sanctuary cities mayors are complaining, and they are afraid to really say Biden's name for whatever reason. He the boogeyman. They are complaining and saying, listen, we can't officially say that we really need to secure the borders. So we just going to ask for money and ask for assistance. And they say, no, y'all cut off too. Who pissed off y'all pimp? Now everybody got to suffer. You remember on Hustle and Flow? When the other girls was in the room and they was like, just be quiet. Just be quiet. DJ is coming in. And then the other one that had the baby, the stripper, she was in there and she was like, I ain't being quiet. I'm going to say what I want to say. That's us. Each one that was in that movie is a different state. Taraji P. Henson, the white girl. And then eventually DJ just got pissed off. And the one that he threw out is New York. It's Eric Adams. Because Eric Adams started getting them inquiries. Yeah, they started raiding the house of his campaign advisors and taking his electronic devices, trying to see where his ties in as far as benefiting financially with Turkey. Yeah, the good old boys network. They said, look, we're going to hit you where it hurts. Oh, you want to talk to us? You want to say my name? You want to say my name? You want to say you came over to Washington? Oh, I got something for you. We got a Me Too charge for you. We got this federal investigation. We got a raid coming to your house. We got all of this stuff that's going to happen to you. Now, you better be quiet. Now, you see Brandon Johnson. He won't even say the boogeyman's name. He won't say. Mike Johnson over there in Denver. Shh. Karen Bass over there in L.A. Shh. Boogeyman is coming. Boogeyman is coming.
As you know, the federal government has asked Texas to lift this policy, gave Texas a deadline. And yesterday, the Texas Attorney General responded to Homeland Security's letter ordering state officials to vacate Shelby Park.
Let me just say something really quickly. Somebody said it in the chat. I think it was A.R. Smitty. I know that this woman is a little bit more seasoned, but I got a thing for older women. I'm not into the young girls. I'm just saying. All I'm saying and what I'm saying is
Park. I can imagine what was in that letter, but give us a sense of how the attorney.
I like a little seasoning on my chicken.
General has responded.
Well, Anne-Marie, Texas is not backing down. That is essentially what the state attorney general, Ken Paxton, said in that letter responding to the Department of Homeland Security's demand that the state stop blocking federal Border Patrol agents from this public park in Eagle Pass in that border town in Texas. Now we know that the Department of Homeland Security will refer this matter to the Justice Department for potential legal action. That could be a lawsuit that is filed against the state of
Come on through, Travis Slay, messy mathematician. I'm going to wait for y'all tonight.
State of Texas that seeks to compel the state authorities to get out of this park and allow Border Patrol back in. The state of Texas is arguing that this is not unconstitutional, as the Biden administration has argued. They argue that they have sweeping authority, Anne-Marie, to take this action to defend the state from what they claim is federal inaction to stop illegal border crossing.
So basically, Texas is continuing to binge all over. He Pulp Fiction and y'all, Ving Rhames and Pulp Fiction. And he continued to threaten Texas. But we all got to make sure that we hold down and pray for Governor Greg Abbott. Because I'm going to just tell you, if anybody deserve our prayers, it's Governor Greg Abbott. We need him to continue to do the Lord's work. And we don't want him to get distracted and focus on anything other than taking care of business. And since he's the only person, it seems like, that can stand up to big bad Biden. All right? Say that 5 times straight real fast. Big bad Biden. I might be able to do that. The B works. I can get that done. Let me read some of these super chats, and then we're going to move over to Tiffany Henyard, a city girl mayor over in Dalton. She just can't stay out the news. Coming to America 3. I appreciate you, Starman. Thank you, my friend. LLC is in the building, says, we always get 2 bad pre-selected choices until I see an independent candidate make it to the final 2 and they abolish the Electoral College. I won't believe our vote counts anymore. Prayers up for Rita and bless up. Listen, well, I appreciate your donation into the platform. However, I think that I have a great candidate. I think that the best possible candidate to come over here and continue to drain the swamp is the candidate that's on the Republican side with the Republican nomination. I don't know what y'all reading. I don't know what y'all seeing. But if I get a Trump Vivek ticket, boy, I'm going to be excited. I think that that's the best ticket that I've had in my lifetime. It'll be the best ticket ever. Queen V says, I'm an RN as well, and I shudder at the illness and crimes that's come in America. No better than this BS. It's all by design. We bought and we paid for. Kenneth Young says, send the migrants straight to the White House. Man, listen, if y'all ever been in D.C. around the White House, I think that they already there. It is trash over there. It is tent city, and there's crazy people outside the White House. Will the CNA says, AD, you know I'm going to stand up for my governor in my state. That's my man's in them, DMX voice, though. And he kept me working. Facts. Shout out to Will the CNA in the building. I appreciate you. Scooby Don is in the building, says, trying to secure that coming election. Backfiring, I think that he going to get mollywop. I think it's going to be one of the biggest disparities between how much of a victory Trump is going to have over Biden by a landslide. LLC says, every nation just needs to take care of its own citizens and mind its own business. Then there will be no ground for people to come here and say we should let them in since we are the ones who destabilize their country. No. I don't think that we always destabilize a country. I think that your understanding of what international politics and what meddling really is distorted, my friend. But that could just be me. Dynamic Mentality says, that just adds validity to the statement, borders open by design. It does, doesn't it? I appreciate you, big dog. Thanks for holding me down. ABJ's Wise, Strong, and Safe says, hold on, let me get that back up there. This is proof that the media is just propaganda wing of the government. Not over here at the Millionaire Morning Show, though, my dog. David Simpson Jr. says, brothers, we must choose or we must stay focused. Anton enters the chat. Shout out to David Simpson Jr. I appreciate you, my friend. All right, y'all ready to continue over with the show? We got a couple more things that we want to address. Let's bring Tiffany to the front of the congregation. Now, Big Tiff. I'm calling her Big Tiff from now on. I'm not calling her Tiffany Henyard. I'm calling her Big Tiff. Because Big Tiff then got herself in a pickle. Big Tiff has gotten herself in a pickle. They going after her now because they saying that her charity is just a front for her to continue to spend money recklessly. I don't know. I have not watched the video yet, but y'all sent it to me. And I want to make sure that y'all understand what's going on out here in these streets. Again, make sure you tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Let's get to it.
WGN Investigates has learned a suburban politician's charity has attracted the attention of the Illinois Attorney General after failing to file financial documents. We've reported on Tiffany Henyard before. She holds 2 elected positions, Dalton Mayor and Thornton Township Supervisor. She also prides herself on raising money for cancer patients.
But as investigative reporter Ben Bradley reports, she's now facing penalties for not reporting how she spent the money.
Tiffany Henyard collected $287,000 back in 2022 from her 2 elected positions. That's the same year she founded a charity in her name, a charity that has received considerable tax dollars but hasn't filed basic records with the Illinois Attorney General or the IRS that would show how cancer patients have actually benefited.
So let's stop there. Is this what y'all mean by boss chicks? I just want to make sure that we all on the same page. Is this what y'all mean by boss chicks? That's making over 200, almost 300 bands a year from 2 elected positions, meaning that it's the people that put her there. It's the people that put her there. Again, I have to extend some blame, and it's similar to a relationship. Yes, you get held accountable for choosing wrong, but it doesn't absolve her from being the one that actually finessed you, and we need to hold her accountable for the finesse also. Everybody got blame to go around, including the constituents and the residents that decided to help her get elected in the first place. Y'all chose her, so don't get mad when she out here finessing y'all positions and she's saying, look, I got this charity and I got all of this money, but I failed to actually talk about how I'm spending this money.
I want people to know that I'm caring.
Tiffany Henyard told me in November she cares. Apparently so much so, it's also the name of her charity.
Check it out.
The Tiffany Henyard Cares Foundation posts videos highlighting walks and other events that prominently feature the politician proudly promoting her cancer charity.
I just want people to know that, hey, Tiffany Henyard Cares Foundation is here. We will help anybody in need.
She certainly may help some, but Henyard's charity has failed to file required financial statements showing income and expenses. WGN Investigates obtained this letter from December in which the Illinois Attorney General threatened civil penalties are imposed against persons who do not register with this office as required.
But there's no foundation in the state of Illinois moving like we moving and shaking, moving like we doing right things. That's right.
Henyard mixes her 2 taxpayer-funded jobs and charity work.
That's it.
That's Keith Freeman sitting next to her at a Dalton meeting where he's the village administrator. Freeman is also an advisor to Thornton Township, and he's the guy listed as the registered agent of
Remember when I was telling y'all, and I've been hitting home on this point every single year, and I say, hey, because y'all ask me the same question, and we get somebody new, and I understand because, you know, you're new to the show and you're new to what we do over here at the Bag Chasers. You ask me the same question all the time, and you say, well, Anton, would you do business with this person, or would you do this, or would you get to the bag of this person if they was this person and they got this millionaire or whatever? And I say no, because I don't know them. And it's no knock against them, but I don't know them. I need to understand who you are and how you move. And I use the analogy a lot of time, and I say, listen, if we go into business together, right? And let's say we start a restaurant together, and the restaurant is doing okay and it's profitable. And then you come to me and you say, Anton, we partners, we 50-50. And I want to increase profits in a restaurant. And I say, okay, cool. What you got in mind, buddy? And he said, look, I want to lower the quality of the meat that we get in, but it's still going to be legal. And we just want to lower the grade of the beef and chicken that we get in on a regular basis. It's not going to be illegal. We still going to pass tests. But we don't want as high as quality of a food. And then I say, well, no, because that's not the way we need to increase profits. Because we don't actually want to degrade the quality of the food in order to become more profitable. We need to be just as ethical as we are profitable. And so if we're going to increase profits, so we got to figure out another way. Otherwise, I'm satisfied with the way that things go. But he says, you know what? But the contract that you signed says that I got slightly more voting power and can determine what happens with the business. What do I do? What do you do? What do you do when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object? What do you do? What do you do when you fundamentally disagree with the person that you're doing business with? What if you guys are going into real estate together, or you're rehabbing a house, and he says, listen, all we got to do is reface the cabinets and paint them. and do this and do this, and we can pass inspection. And then I say, but, you know, we've been doing this long enough to know that that thing over there is only going to last maybe like another 2 or 3 years. And it might pass inspection, but we know that it's not going to be good for the homeowner, and it's going to cost them a whole lot of money a couple years down the line, because we know that that furnace got to be changed out. And if it don't change out, then it's a possibility that it could hurt somebody or it could kill somebody, because, you know, we know that it's a fundamental issue with it. And he going to say, yeah, but it passes inspection now, and the inspector ain't going to say nothing about it, so why would I say anything about it? Do you still do business with that person? Do you still do business with that person? Now, unfortunately for us, we don't know if Keith Freeman here is actually on the up and up. You know what we do know? Just by tying himself to somebody that he did not apparently know, or that it seems as though he didn't know, now he's being thrown under the bus, and his reputation is going to be ruined simply because he's the person that's listed as the registered agent for this organization that we can't justify how they spending their money. Now, it's funny because none of this stuff would have ever came up if she wasn't all in the videos like Diddy, dancing and prancing, right? If she would have never put on that Nino Brown hookup, if she wasn't trying to self-promote, if she wasn't putting a billboard of herself if everybody in Thornton Township and Dolton didn't know what her birthday was, she would have never, ever, ever, ever hit our radar. There's literally thousands and thousands of small towns and cities that have supervisors and mayors and superintendents and treasurers, and they operate under the radar every single day. Now, I'm not saying that these people should be operating under the radar, because if you're doing something wrong and we find out, we need to bring you to the front of the congregation. But if she had never, ever become visible, it's a strong possibility. And see, for example, J-Dub is saying, watch her get off. Well, it's not even let's say, for example, she never get arrested. Let's say, for example, she does get off. What if she loses her position? What if she loses her bag? She had 2 jobs making almost $300,000 a year. But if she had never started to finesse, or she hadn't started to get greedy, or she was hungry for fame and power, we wouldn't even be having this conversation about her right now. But now they digging. They digging. And they're going to dig up every single thing that they could possibly think of to try to throw you under the jail, because they don't like you now. And when they got a vendetta against you, they're going to uncover every rock. And you better have your I's dotted and your T's crossed, because they are not playing no games. They going to find out what you're doing with your charity. They want to know exactly what you're doing as far as the legislation, if trying to finesse people to say if you beat her in an election in order to try to discourage people from running against her, that your pay is now going to be $25,000 instead of over $200,000. They are coming for you. They going to uncover and figure out You know how Kwame Kilpatrick went down? You know why he started to go down, the former mayor of Detroit? A text message. A text message on a government-issued, city-owned cell phone. Text messages. And then the Freedom of Information Act was able to uncover every text message, which then uncovered the affair that he was having and ruined his family, and then launched a bigger investigation into other things that was happening that ultimately still follows him to today. And it's all because he was too visible, he was too flashy, and he was too defiant on what was going on at the time, and he was too young to really understand the implications and what was going on and what was going to happen as far as the actions that he was taking place inside of the city of Detroit. It was a text message. A text message. She should have just been quiet, kept it moving, and did what she needed to do and actually do the right thing by the people. But now they digging. And now Keith Freeman is under investigation, or they trying to figure out who this guy is, because he would have never even came up on my radar had I not been looking at what was going on with Tiffany Henyard, where she shouldn't have been visible like that in the first place.
Tiffany Henyard's foundation.
I think it's just about personal gain and trying to use it as more of a publicity type thing.
Chris Gonzalez is the last surviving critic of Henyard on the Thornton Township Board. He and other critics say public money has been used to fund Henyard's private charity. They say board members were asked to approve a $10,000 payment to the foundation in 2022, days before a much publicized cancer walk from Dalton to Springfield. Thornton Township credit card records show taxpayers then footed the bill for more than $10,000 in hotel rooms along the route.
I saw the video. Township vehicles being used, township employees being used. Once again, were they paid? Were they given comp time or things of that nature? So there's just, I mean, unfortunately, there's a long list. Hotel use, meals.
But I shouldn't have to sit up here and break all this down.
Henyard sometimes shouts down or shuts down questions about expenses while presiding over public meetings, as we learned in November. That's when we reported Thornton Township taxpayers spent thousands of dollars on a trip to Las Vegas, where a shopping center conference was underway. Henyard and her allies spent thousands on everything from steak dinners to hotels and what appeared to be first-class airfare.
And ain't nothing like going to Ruth Chris. You know you got to go to Ruth Chris. That's the first red flag that you see. You see a black woman and they asking for something in most instances, the first thing that she going to ask to go to when she lands is Ruth Chris. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. I went down to Biloxi, Mississippi, right? And they got this casino industry that's largely unheralded, but it's very, very dope down there. And I love staying at the Beau Rivage, which looks like a mini version of the Bellagio over in Vegas. And it's a great, great, great hotel. It's probably my favorite place to go and stay and have fun at. And if you go over to the Hard Rock Hotel, which is directly next door, you can walk right over there. They had a car show, an old school car show. And so I was down there and we had a ball. I can't wait to come and kick it with y'all over in Mississippi. I'm going to Jackson. I'm going to Biloxi. I'm going to all of the cities that's surrounding it. We gonna have a ball. And then I'm going to shoot over to New Orleans, because New Orleans is literally less than an hour away from Biloxi. But if you go over to the Hard Rock Hotel that's directly next door, they got a Ruth Chris over there. Now, in Biloxi, it's funny because it's kind of like a mixture of people, but it seems like it's more white people than black people. But then they got the Air Force, the Air Base down there and all of that, right? But guess where all of the people, guess where all of the chicks, if you want to go and find you a little hood rat, guess where they was going? You guessed it, Ruth Chris. Let me give you all a round of applause for your guessing skills. Yes, yes, yes. It's 2 restaurants that they had over in Biloxi, Mississippi. We actually got one downtown in downtown Detroit. It was, what's the one? Well, I know it's Ruth Chris that all of the ladies, all of my ghetto hood rats was at. And I'm not saying that everybody that go to Ruth Chris is a hood rat, but I'm just saying that's where I seen them all. And it was the other one. What's the other one? Gosh, the Kardashians went to it. It's called, hold on. I can look it up. I'll tell you exactly what it is. The Sugar Factory. It's the Sugar Factory. That's the other one. They was all up in the Sugar Factory, and they was up in Ruth Chris. The Sugar Factory and Ruth Chris is the ones that they was in. And they both was inside of the Hard Rock Cafe. Yep, it was a Sugar Factory. So, y'all want me to pull up for Black Beach? Oh, my God. Let me tell you something, Black Beach. Real Jay Gouda. I don't know, man. When I see too many of these people that's not doing the thing that's in their own best interest in one space, I tend to try to avoid it. You saying I should get out of my comfort zone this year? Y'all gonna show me what's going on with Black Beach. Now, I can't tell you what I'm gonna capture on camera. But that Ruth Chris, boy, that get y'all in trouble every time.
I do not handle anything as relates to with credit cards. As you heard me speak today in my board meeting about, I do not handle that.
Some of those charges are for you, though.
No, sir.
You didn't go to Las Vegas?
Shout out to Lil Wayne's little sister, Tiffany Henyard. Hold on, let me hit them with that again.
You didn't go to Las Vegas? What is that?
No comment.
You don't know if you were in Las Vegas?
Of course I do.
Were you?
It's not paid by them. Of course I do.
You didn't go to Las Vegas? You didn't go to Las Vegas?
No, sir.
You didn't go to Las Vegas?
Mm,
You didn't go to Las Vegas?
mm,
You didn't go to Las Vegas?
mm.
I gotta make that that's gonna be one of my sound bites. I don't know when I'm gonna use it. I think I'm gonna use it maybe on another platform when somebody say something that is cap, and I'm gonna be like, oh, you really didn't bust that chick down? And then I'm gonna say,
You didn't go to Las Vegas?
Mm.
shout out to Big Tiff over there in Thornton Township in Dalton running the checkup on the people. We we appreciate you for the good content. Well, the CNA says Biden out here like John Wick. Baba Yaga. Scaring everybody. I bet you that man ain't even really. Oh my God. Rail says this is what happens when you get a president by mail. Man, I don't trust nothing. Over in the Iowa caucuses, they counted that junk by hand. Handwritten. Brittany B says, Anton, I thought you was the king of make your life a business. She got you beat. Tell me about it. Also, love to Rita and love to the chat mods. Rita is doing well. We actually about to get out of here. I got one more segment and then we're going to get up out of here for the day. Desert Rose 76 says, Anton, we got to love to see an interview with Trump and Governor Abbott one day. We love your broadcast. Come hang in Lakeland, Florida. Hugs. Bruno and Luciana. Shout out to Bruno and Luciana. I appreciate y'all. I can't. What part are y'all in? What did you say? Lakeland, Florida. How far is Lakeland from Miami? Let me look that up. Distance. I will pull up. 191 miles. Oh, so you up closer in between Tampa and Orlando. All right, that's not a problem because I'll be in Tampa too. So yeah, we'll figure that out. Shout out to you. Messi says, hey Anton, say immovable. Ah, I got you this time. Yeah, I'm trying to see something. Yeah, immovable. Woo! I'm on it today. Yeah, on the real Anton, the more you cover Big Tiff, the more she grows on me. I'm starting to like Big Tiff. She like a mob figure. She like a mob boss out in these streets. Merrick Politics and Sports says, go to Young's and Slidell, Louisiana, area landmark steakhouse. Ask somebody. Huh. All right. I got to put all of this stuff on my list that y'all telling me to go to. Yeah, Messi. Yeah. I got you. And I did it twice, so you know it wasn't a fluke. I know how to get to it. All right, so we got one more thing, and we got to get to the money. Gen Z is rejecting hustle culture. Gen Z is rejecting hustle culture. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Let's get this last subject out of the way, and then we're going to get up out of here so I can go take care of business.
Lazy, entitled quitters. Gen Z have been labeled the hardest generation to work with. But are the people born between the 90s and 2010 really that difficult? Or do they have a thing or two to teach the world about work-life balance? I'm Annalise Borges, and this is The Stream.
What is hustle culture? What do y'all define hustle culture in to be in? Shout out to the Carolinas on DJ K Smooth. I'm gonna read that super chat shortly. What do y'all define as hustle culture? Because the way that I define hustle culture is much different than what you would define as hustle culture. See, this is what I define as hustle culture before we get into this. And I have not watched this video. This is something that somebody sent to me. And so I thought it would be a great switch up so we can talk about money. some people define hustle culture as doing whatever it is that you can to feed your family. Like, okay, so you got a regular job and then you work the extra overtime, or you got a side hustle or a side job that you do on the weekends, or you got an overnight job, or you got, driving, or you Ubering and Lyfting and you're doing door dashes on the side and stuff like that. A lot of people define that as hustle culture. I had a lady, she actually delivered my DoorDash. Now, Anton ain't about to be sitting here wasting my time doing all of that cooking. That's not what we doing today. I'm working from home, so I have my DoorDash and I ordered from Einstein Bagels, right? And lady came, and she was actually really decent looking. She was a white girl. She was decent looking, and so she knocked at my door. And then directly on my door, you can actually see the lake. And a lot of y'all already know what my view is and what the lake looked like. And she was like, "Oh my God, it's so beautiful." There's actually people that's playing hockey out there on the lake right now. She was like, "Oh my God, it's so beautiful," and all of this other type of stuff, right? And I'm like, "Oh yeah, the view is nice or whatever." She was like, "I always was wondering who lived here, who lived in this one, who lived in this, whatever." And so she was talking or whatever, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, it's nice or whatever." And she was like, "Okay, I gotta hurry up and go. I gotta make a new delivery." I was like, "Oh, okay." I'm like, "New delivery?" I'm like, "Girl, you ain't got no regular job?" She's like, "Oh yeah, I work at night and I deliver in the daytime and all of this stuff." And so she started running down her whole story, and she was I don't know, if I had to guess, she was probably like 30, maybe 28, somewhere between 28 and 30. And she was just basically saying like, "Yo, it's hard. It's hard out here. And in order for her to do what she got to do, she got to basically hustle and she got to grind because she, by herself, and she a single mama, single baby mama, and all of this other type of stuff." And it's amazing the amount of insight that you get just from talking to people. And I just get it all the time. I'm always talking to people. But my point is that she's doing what she has to do to survive. And the women out here today, a lot of y'all don't realize how good y'all got it because you got somebody to help you and to cover you and even go half on them bills, or you can go 100% by yourself and really have to suffer and be delivering my DoorDash and trying to come up in my crib and see my view. You know what I'm saying? But I define hustle culture to be completely different than what y'all define it to be. I don't look at that as hustle culture. I just look at that as survival. It's just survival. For the longest, men have always had multiple jobs. Even my grandfather on my mother's side, he always, from the time that I ever known him to the time that he wound up passing away, it seemed like he always had two jobs. He worked at the post office and then he would work at the plant. My father was always a hustler, right? And maybe that's where I just got my work ethic from. My father was a hustler, and so, he worked at his regular job, and then he would go and do construction, or they owned a concrete company, and they would lay concrete and stuff like that, right? And so I look at hustle culture completely different. That's just survival. That's just normal. That's just trying to make sure that you go and get it. I look at hustle culture. That's what y'all define hustle culture is, doing the extras. Anything that you do over 40 hours in order to survive. That's why y'all keep protesting. I look at hustle culture as the thing that you're doing right before you really start a business. So when I see people going out to make extra money, or I see people doing this, but they actually saying that they're running a business, I don't look at that as a business. I look at that as a hustle because you're not really making no money yet. The minute that you start generating revenue, the minute that you can hire people, the minute that you can start pouring money back into it in order to continue to grow it, right? That's when it becomes a business. But a hustle is just a thing. A hustle or a hobby is just the thing that you're doing to try to make some extra money until it becomes a business, until it ultimately becomes a thing that you can quit your job for. So the way that you look at things a lot of times also define how it is that you're going to operate in the future, because if you see it as a future business, but it's just not making money yet, but you're treating it like a business, it'll then not become a hustle. It'll become just another stream of income. You see what I'm saying? Some people say, well, I got to do this hustle culture in order to survive. I say, no, I got to have multiple streams of income in order to generate more revenue to do the things that I really want to do and invest in. Because if you're just doing it to survive, that's just another job. That's not hustling. That's not a hustle culture. Now, if you're doing it in order to fund something different, then that's when it becomes a hustle until it becomes a business. And until then, it's nothing more than a hobby turned into a hustle turned into a business. So hustle culture is a mindset, in my opinion. The way that you're operating, you just in survival mode. And so if you didn't have any other choice, you wouldn't do it because you would be comfortable. And that's why a lot of people would then move to a different city because they don't want to continue to push as hard as it takes in order to survive in that place. Most people that live in Miami ain't on the beach. They ain't doing this stuff. They ain't hanging out. They ain't at the parties. They're not driving exotic cars. Although there's a lot of stuff there like that, they don't do that because they got more than one job just because it's so expensive to be able to live there. Let me go ahead and get into this video.
Optimistic, the generation that has popularized terms such as bare minimum Mondays, quiet quitting, and the latest lazy girl job is being required to go back to the office. I mean, we all are.
I love being a woman.
And it made me realize I don't care anymore what anybody gotta say. I'ma do me. I'ma do.
After and sleeping, when would I have time for myself?
It's not that the new generation is more difficult to work with, it's that the older generation is more difficult to work for.
From social media trends like the late.
All of these people are cupcakes, bro. So weak. Half of them work from home or they got to do some hybrid schedule. They don't even know what it means like to really be on a job for 12 hours a day, 16 hours a day.
Lazy girl job and bare minimum Monday, Generation Z is rewriting the rules of the workplace. Many are rejecting the hustle culture and current ideals of success and productivity and prioritizing life outside of work. Managers and employers say this is just Gen Z's way of opting out of responsibility. But Gen Zs say times have changed and what they expect out of their careers should too. Today, we're going to dive into what is now a revolution. And to help me understand what's really happening here, I'm thrilled to welcome to the show Gabrielle Judge, the original creator of the lazy girl job trend, who encourages her nearly 170,000 TikTok followers to find meaning outside their careers. She's joining us from Denver in Colorado. Caroline Felix is a writer and a gender and climate activist. She's joining us from New York.
Look at these people's jobs. One of them is a TikToker. Another one is a writer slash, hold on, let me make sure. Let me make sure.
Caroline Felix is a writer and a gender and climate activist. She's
a writer and a gender and climate activist. Oh my God. When they asked you, what do you do for a living and what's your title? And if you say I'm a writer and gender client activist, that's wild. That is absolutely insane. A TikToker called the lazy something and a writer and a gender and a climate activist. These are your jobs. This is the meaning that you give into society. This is the way that you're going to change the world. This is how you're making the world a better place. This is how you're being productive. Whew. All right, let's continue, guys.
Joining us from New York, and Danielle Roberts is an anti-career coach who's joining us from.
These are children coaching you on how you're going to live your life. And her job is an anti-career coach. Look, man, this just means that you can name yourself anything that you want. I remember back in the early 2000s, everybody was a CEO of their own record label. This should be fun.
Tampa in Florida. Thank you all so much for being here today. I really appreciate you joining this conversation. There is so much to talk about. So I want to start with Gabrielle, if that's okay. Can you explain to our viewers this concept that you created, the lazy girl job? What does it mean?
Yeah, so it's a TikTok trend. So there's tons of lazy girl trends out there. So that's always been super fun to watch. And so when I was watching those, I was like, well, why aren't we talking about jobs? Like lazy girl.
Her microphone not even on.
Hair routines is super fun too, but let's talk about something else, right? So that's where lazy girl jobs came out of. Really, it's a term to normalize work-life balance and have better work-life balance conversations. And Gen Z really stuck to it, hence why we saw such a rise with it on TikTok.
That is fascinating. It is a very interesting phenomenon. So the whole being lazy.
Whenever somebody says something is interesting, that means that it's stupid, but they don't want to call it stupid, so they just call it interesting in order to try to be a little nicer to you about it.
Here is just a stereotype, isn't it? Can you run us through that part?
Of course, yeah. So I appreciate that question. It's so important to hit on the lazy part too. I intentionally called it lazy because if you look at what I'm talking about, it's just work-life balance. But if you have a work-life balance conversation in a hustle culture-centered culture, right, it's lazy. So it was more calling that out in a tongue-in-cheek way.
Interesting. Danielle, there used to be a plan. We used to be told, go to college, find a job, and you will be successful. You are now an anti-career coach. Can you tell our viewers what it is that you do and what you tell your clients these days?
As a millennial, we were taught to climb the corporate ladder and check the boxes to be successful, go to school, and regular career coaches operate on the notion that dream jobs exist. And as an anti-career coach, I believe that dream jobs don't exist and that we really need to reject hustle culture and stop centering work as the most important thing in our lives. And we really need to focus on what makes us fulfilled. And we can also do that when we are in the workplace by focusing on our engagement and our energy levels.
Colleen, disrupted, difficult, demanding are just some of the words that are being used and have been used to describe your generation. Do you think that they are fair?
I don't think so. I think what we've seen, especially for Gen Zers, we've lived, throughout our lives and seen how this promise that work is everything has consistently failed us. We've seen the 2008 recession and how our parents really struggled through that. We saw that during COVID, where, especially in the United States, there were mass layoffs for companies that called us their family. And that was absolutely devastating.
Let me debunk a little bit of this before she continues to spew out this nonsense. Number one, the recession was caused by a couple different things. It was caused by greedy bankers. It was also set in place by politicians that came before you during the Bush administration, but largely the Clinton administration, right? Because greed was a thing during the Clinton presidency, and everybody celebrated them because it seemed like they were making a lot of money, but in reality, they were mortgaging their future. And it also came on the heels of people being irresponsible, knowing that they couldn't afford homes that they also decided to get into, and then they were taken advantage of because everybody was greedy, and so everybody got finessed at the time. It had nothing to do with your work-life balance, hustle culture, any of that. It had everything to do with us as a people being irresponsible with the people that we put in the office. It had everything to do with the greed of the banks, and it also had everything to do with the greed of the people and the consumers of being overly indulged in mortgaging our future by continuing to buy homes and to get into places that we knew we couldn't afford in the first place. That's the truth. Okay. During the pandemic cupcake, what I actually seen happen was more money being given out, interest rates being lowered, and there was a hiring spree. As a matter of fact, we're seeing the repercussions of that hiring spree, and technology companies continue to pare back, especially when it comes to AI and information technology over at Meta and those different places. But there's a hiring spree. As a matter of fact, it wasn't layoffs. It was more or less people getting comfortable, and that's why so many people were purchasing homes and spending money. And we had the biggest buying trend that we had across the nation than we've ever had in our entire lives, or ever since a little bit before the 2008 recession. So when she says this, it's wrong. It's wrong. We overhired. That's why everybody was, trying to finesse. You had trucking people that was trying to tell y'all to go out here and get into trucking when they didn't really understand the trucking industry. We made more money than we ever have during a recession at that time of our life. I had got richer during the Trump administration. I had made more money than I ever have in my entire life. So all of this is wrong. She's wrong, but neither here nor there.
So I think Gen Zers, after seeing how companies, see us as just business. It's nothing personal, especially when they lay us off. I think we are reciprocating that and just being like, well, this is a job. This is not my whole life. And once again, with COVID, we saw that we can work from home and also still have a life, that our work doesn't necessarily have to be everything. We don't have to necessarily be in the office 5 days a week and need to work 40 hours a week for our economy to survive. So I think it's not necessarily that we're lazy. It's just that we are being realistic and looking past this kind of dream landscape of work being everything.
It is fascinating. Would you say that then the economic uncertainty of our times has a lot to do with what's happening now?
I think in a way, yes, economic uncertainty. For many young people, it is unlikely that we'll be able to have, especially after student loan debts and the high cost of rent, that we will even be able to buy a house in our 30s. So I think that the economy certainly has a lot to do with it. But I also feel like even past the economy, I think in the West, there's still this, this dream that if you work really hard, then you can, retire and go on vacation for the rest of your life. But that hasn't been true for decades for a lot of people. So I think Gen Z are.
No, it still is true. The problem is that you want to party just as hard as you work, and you only want to work for 10 years or 5 years or 3 years, and then you expect to be able to retire when you're 26. You want to graduate when you're 22. You want to retire when you're 26. And then you want to live the soft life. And if you can't do that, then you're going to go try to find a man to take care of you for the rest of your life and shame him into going 100-0. That's the ratio. He pay 100%, you pay 0, and y'all ain't even got no kids together. And it is a reality, right? The problem is that most people don't want to hold on long enough to actually get to the results. So they want to go out and they want to go and get this expensive place. They want to go live in Miami. They want to move to New York. They want to go party. They want to go get an expensive car. The average car note is going to be $1,000 a piece. They want to live central to everything and don't even have a roommate. Let me tell y'all what the real life hack is. You want to know what the real life hack is? Very, very simple. This is something that even the ones that throw shots at me won't even tell you. The real life hack, honestly, is to stay home as long as you possibly can and to lower the amount of money that you're spending on things that other people feel like is a necessity. Everybody feel like it's necessary to move out of their parents' house. Everybody want to go out there and do it on their own. They don't want to have a roommate. They want to run out. Listen, help your family in their household and stay home till you're 30. I promise you, you're not going to miss nothing. You ain't going to miss nothing but a bunch of bills. And if you stay home till you're 30, you go to college, you go to school, you minimize the amount of money that you're spending in student loans that you're taking out. Don't use no credit cards. Don't jack up your lifestyle, and then make sure that you continue to pour everything that you have over into your investments and assets. You will be scot-free. Man, I promise you. You will absolutely positively, if you play it the right way, you will absolutely positively become a millionaire before you're 40 years old. And you will be able to live the rest of your life how you want to. Stay home and help your parents with the costs. They gonna appreciate it because it gives them a lot of relief. Because when you stay at home, I don't want you to just stay home and just lean on your parents. I want you to stay home and actually contribute into the household. Hey, I can help towards the rent and I'll take over a utility. I promise you they're gonna let you stay home. They want you there. They don't want you out in the streets. Your problem and our problem is that we want to do what we want to do. So now because you want to bust it down and you want to have somebody sleeping over and all of that, that's your problem, is that you can't do what you want to do because you have to have a level of decorum. You have to have some respect for yourself. They're going to force you to continue to not be busting it down and be for the streets and coming in at all times of the night. That's really what it is. You want to go out there and you want to. Most of us that left home and went to colleges, we didn't have to stay on campus. We didn't even have to go over to that expensive school. We didn't have to go out of state in order to run it up and all of that. The reality is that we could have saved ourselves so much headache, so much grief, so much in credit card debt, but we wanted to live on campus. We wanted to go out. And because we created these self-inflicted wounds for ourselves, now we're going to blame it on hustle culture. Now we're going to blame it on the economy. Now we're going to blame it on Trump and Obama and all of that. When the truth is, We decided to do it, and now we want to blame it on the system for what it's going to cost us in the end to repay back all of that stuff that we partied with and the money that we took out, because that money is more expensive now that we got to pay for it with interest on top of it. Now, whatever you spent on partying and credit cards, it's going to cost you triple, because you're going to have to pay way more in interest when you pay it back to the federal government or you pay it over to the bank. If you stay home and you stay focused and you don't get caught up in none of this BS and you don't let people influence you to do stuff that you don't want to do, man, I'm telling you, bro. Look, I went to University of Detroit Mercy College, the Titans, not Mercy. UAD, the Titans, right? And I went there for the first semester out of college, out of high school. And I quit that crap immediately. And I was like, yo, I paid my tuition. I came out of there. I didn't take out no student loans. I got my tax refund. I paid all of that junk off. And I said, I'm not doing this, because it was a private college and it was tuition per credit hour. I did the comparison. I looked at the tuition per credit hour, and then I looked at what it was going to cost me to get a 4-year degree. I was like, man, I'm out of this. I went and got me a job. That's when my brother had got me into the plant. That's when we started running it up. Now, did I do what I was supposed to do with the money that I was making from the plant? A little bit. I stacked up, 25% out of every check that I made. But for the rest of it, because I was making a whole lot of money, I blew that money. I blew it. So it was still a self-inflicted wound, right? And thankfully, I was, still young enough to recover, and I was intentional after I, had my daughter at 26 years old or whatever. And at that time, it was the recession, so, it forced me to really have a come-to-Jesus moment. But the reality is that if we just do the thing that we supposed to do, and if you tell your kid, hey, man, you ain't got to move out, for what? Ain't nothing out there but the devil, and we stop having these self-inflicted wounds, we'll have way better results. Bro, you can change the entire generation and trajectory of your family in one generation. It don't even have to be a generation. It could be a half of a generation. You can change your fortunes. You can change your kids' fortunes, all by just making a couple informed decisions and not doing and going along with the trend. You don't have to get a new car. Take public transportation. It's even cool now to walk more. It's cool now to take public transportation. There's nothing wrong with taking public transportation. I take public transportation every day almost when it's not cold outside. I don't even drive my car when I'm in my office. I take the Q line. I take the buses. I walk. It's healthier for us. It costs me less. It's not that I'm doing it because of the money. It's because I'm doing it because it's actually more inconvenient to drive depending on where you live at. You got to go and pay for parking. You got to pay for insurance. You got to pay for the car note. Got to pay the interest on the car. It's stupid. I would just rather walk and be immersed in. You see things that you never seen before. You notice stuff. You go to different restaurants. You have more disposable income to go and invest in. Stay home, chill, catch the bus. You can basically operate off of almost nothing. Let's say you come out of college, or let's say you go to college, or let's say you get a job, and you making $40,000 to $50,000 a year, and you single, right? Let's say you even making 60 to 70, because now these jobs are paying even more depending on where you live at and stuff, or what field that you go into. And you don't got no expenses? Only expenses that you got is, what, $300 because you contributed into rent to your household and your parents just want you to be halfway responsible. It's not even that they need your $300. You take a utility bill, okay, you pay an extra $100 a month. Couple streaming services, you're a part of the Patreon, so you leveling up and making more money. You ain't got no expenses after that. You just running it up. You running it up. And so it's not that it's the culture and hustle culture and what it is that you're doing. It's the fact that we have all of these expenses that we give to ourselves that's not going to be conducive for our lifestyle if we're not making the right decisions.
Even within a good economy, I think some of those promises were a bit unrealistic.
Yeah, who's thinking about retiring anymore? Just a parenthesis here. We talked about lazy girl job, but there's also quiet quitting. And actually the amount of concepts circulating online right now is...
Aaron says, taking a bus to work. I'm going to read y'all super chat shortly. Taking a bus to work takes an hour plus. So what? When I'm on a bus or when I'm on a queue line, you know what I'm doing? Honestly, I'm like this. When I jump on the queue, let's say it take me an hour, because a lot of y'all driving an hour or whatever that like that in traffic stuff in any way, right? This is what I'm doing while I'm on there. I'm gonna be honest with you. When I'm on, because I'm never really missing an opportunity just because it take me an hour. I say it costs you more to drive, even though it only takes you 20, 25 minutes, than it takes me to take the bus, right? And the reason that is because me getting on the bus is actually them driving me. It's like having a driver. So the entire time, I'm sitting there and I'm doing like this. And I'm doing budgets, and I'm making sure that I'm editing videos, and I'm doing work for my job, because everything is connected now, right? I got a data plan, or I can just connect to whatever it is that's on my phone, right? I'm monitoring things. So I'm actually doing an hour's worth of work, an hour and 20 minutes worth of work while I'm sitting there on the bus, while you sitting there and you can't do nothing while you driving except for listen to music and talk to people that ain't even got your best interest at heart. And so I'm telling you, it's your mindset. It's your mindset. If you actually leverage the time and start thinking differently about the time that you're using, and you start to use it more effectively versus looking at it and say, oh, it's going to catch me an hour, then you'll have better results. But because we're not sitting here and actually leveraging it, when I got people with me, I'd rather them drive. You know why? Because then I can sit in the back of the car. I can do stuff. I can get stuff done. I get more done in an hour. One of the reasons why, anyways, let me listen a little bit more to them. I ain't going to preach.
Very significant. I want you to take a look at this video we sourced from TikTok introducing Bare Minimum Monday.
A bare minimum Monday in your late 20s. You think about how bad your Sunday scaries used to be when you had your corporate job. You remember the cognitive dissonance of having the job but being more miserable than ever before. You think about the day you quit, hoping self-employment was the answer. No more boss, no more stress, no more Sunday scaries, right? You were wrong. Your stress actually got worse because you didn't have a boss problem. You had a hustle culture problem. And you burned out again. So you began to dismantle your beliefs on productivity and remove yourself from hustle culture.
Danielle, there's been a real shift in the way we see and talk about mental health here. I'm aware of the risk that I run of sounding very old. When I entered the job market, there was this pressure of just hustling, of getting as many jobs and as much experience as you could possibly get. But now this hustle culture really is perceived as not being super healthy.
Yeah, I think at the core of it, when we hustle, we abandon taking care of our mental and physical health. And without our health, we have nothing. And when we prioritize just what...
This is all foolishness, man. Get you a calendar, stick to it, and don't have self-inflicted wounds. It's really that simple. Let me read a couple more super chats, and then I'm going to get y'all up out of here because I got to get up out of here. We got a deadline to meet. Carolina's own DJ K Smooth is in the building. Says, damn, Big Tip sounding like a big mosquito buzzing. Shout out to my dog, Carolina's DJ K Smooth. Will the CNA says, peace and blessings to you and your family, sir. Salute. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate you. Desert Rose 76 is in the building. Says, cool. We will cook you some good Brazilian food. All right, I'm down for that. Nurses Ain't Nice is in the building. Shout out to Nurses Ain't Nice. Says, all I see is money. They will work for me, and I'm observing the trends. Yep. AR Smitty says, is this an actual show or an SNL skit? Civ Lap says, bosses aren't loyal, so the workers are adjusting to their expectations. Bosses aren't loyal, so workers are adjusting to their expectations. You're going to have to expound on that. Nurses Ain't Nice says, that's a woman trying to play a man in a man's world, then realizing a man's world is, now that's the reality. You fought for feminism, you fought for equal, and now that you got to compete, you don't like the results that come along with it. You don't like what men have been dealing with since the beginning of time, because this is not new to us. Prince Elian says, China TikTok teaches kids how to be responsible adults. U.S. TikTok teaches kids how to be irresponsible children. Migrants will be taking their jobs and getting rich. Messi, what up, Messi says, that's the... Jesus. That's the wig Sexual Chocolate had on and coming to America. Sexual Chocolate, ladies and gentlemen. I believe the children are the future. McCall's Wellness and Motion is in the building. Says blessings to you, AD in the bag. Chasers, make sure y'all join the Patreon. Link is in the description. So they plan on living that van life. Yep. What's their life plan? Just lazy, spoiled. Can you guess you can take a guess you can talk like this when you still have your hardworking parents supporting you? They don't know no better. They don't know no better. CJ Mose, but they all coaching and they only 20. Most black moms aren't letting their kids stay home till 30. Cap. Most black moms are not letting kids that aren't productive stay home till they 30. Most black moms that have kids that are not productive can't stay home till they 30. If you are helping her out and you helping to pay a bill and you being productive, you cannot tell me in most situations that's not going to play out for you. Most of y'all just sitting there playing video games. Let's be real. Regime says it's easy to live carefree when you're not responsible for anyone else. Responsibility to someone else will and should change how you move. Sometimes it just, the kid just, or whatever that responsibility is, just fails. Brittany B says, hello, my name is Brittany and I'm pro plant life. Shout out to Brittany B. Brock says, pass a love offering. Thank you, Brock. I appreciate you. Antonio Watkins says, hello, my name is Antonio and I'm a mirror watcher. Yeah. Chris J is in the building, says, I'm all for working smarter, not harder, but this is ridiculous. We don't condone laziness in any generation. That includes Gen Z. And I agree with you, Chris. Thank you, my friend. Listen, I love you guys. I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for continuing to rock out with me on this Thursday, which is a Friday Eve, January 18th. Another show in the books. I got to get out of here. I got some pre-records that's dropping on the Anton Daniels channel today. A couple. And then I'm expecting to do after hours tonight. So, again, keep us in your prayers. Everything is about to be great. And we going from there. All right. I love you guys. I appreciate you. And I need y'all to do me one more thing before we get up out of here. Make sure you share this with your family and friends. Make sure you share this with your family and friends. We don't want to be successful by ourselves. I love you. I appreciate you. You guys are the greatest audience on earth. Shout out to the 16 Bar King, says retired at 50, 51 now, happy as ever. And it's so much better on this side, 16 Bar King. You know what I'm saying? All right, I got to shoot out. I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for showing love. I keep y'all updated on what's going on. I'm fully expecting to do the Millionaire Morning Show tomorrow right here. Back at it, and I'm going to holler at y'all later. Peace.